Boy, I can give you everything, but first you gotta listen to me. I know the twists and turns to make your life worth.
The work has been done. Today is your day. Tomorrow, you will find a new home.
You better run from the devil.
Tonight, you are the headline act.
You better run from the devil.
This is your time to shine.
You better run from the devil.
Are you with me? Are you with me?
The picturesque scenery along the banks of the River Torrens in the city of Churches. What a backdrop it provides. Good evening and welcome one and all to the Adelaide Convention Centre for the 2015 NAB AFL Draft. You can just picture lounge rooms right across the country with families and friends crowded around TVs, just hoping for a certain name to be called out and then wondering where that potential draftee may in fact be headed. And what a night it is for the 18 clubs in the AFL as well, trying to rebuild or strengthen their playing lists. We've got the Carlton Football Club with 4 selections inside the top 20. And a couple of teams in Essendon and Melbourne that both had 2 selections inside the top 10. We shouldn't forget either the father-son and academy selections with a new bidding system that we will take you through very, very shortly. And of course you have options as you watch the coverage. We'll be going through round 1 here on 504. Then a lot of interviews, a lot of colour, a lot of debate about the draft. But if you want to watch each and every single selection as it happens, you can flick over to channel 503. And of course, as always, you can catch everything as it unfolds online at foxfooty.com.au. A wonderful panel assembled to take us through the events of this evening. We kick off with the man that was selected at number 11 in the 1993 draft. He's the game's record holder for the Western Bulldogs, an absolute star and one hell of a good bloke. Brad Johnson, good evening to you, Jono.
Very kind, Jason. It's great to be. It's an exciting time for everyone, the players, all their families, but they've done so well to get to this point right now. Their name may be called out tonight, but then it all starts again. They have to find their feet very quickly in this ruthless AFL competition.
Alongside Brad Johnson, a man that was coach of the Adelaide Crows, now is the AFL Academy head coach, Brenton Sanderson. Good evening, Sando.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. You're right, Jono. The anticipation, the anxiety that surrounds draft night, all these young men that are here tonight, but I guess the thousands back around lounge rooms around Australia tonight, just hoping, wishing that their name is going to get called out.
And let's face it, no draft is complete without the AFL's national and international talent manager in Kevin Sheahan, a man affectionately known as Shifter. Shifter, great to have you on board tonight, mate.
And it's great to be here. So Adelaide is draft town, just the second time in the 30 years of the draft that we've come here. And just to go back to 97, the one year it was here, 1997, Adelaide Premiership, the Crows, of course, Travis Johnson taken number 1. But then listen to some of these names. Brad Otten's at number 2, Luke Power at 7, Chad Corns to put Adelaide at choice 9, Simon Black at 31, and then we'll throw in Adam Goods at 43 and Matthew Scarlett at 45. So big names of the game will appear from those selected tonight.
They certainly will, and I think it's fair to say also that from the moment the first conversations began about this year's draft, I think 2 names stuck out. Jacob Wiedering and Josh Shackey.
Yeah, well, and you can see why, because they're just towering young men, and they've developed so well, especially over the course of this season. You see there, Wiedering 195 compared to Shaq 199, 90 kilos to 96, defender and a key position forward. And normally we're talking about midfielders at this, in the early part of the draft. We're talking about the key shifter this time around.
Yeah, you see Wiedering in action here. Think Harry Taylor, just so composed down back, massive hands, so he gathers the ball overhead very, very well. Great intercept mark, a great distributor as well, uses it beautifully to set up the play. Terrific athlete. And then Josh Shackey, of course, the star of the national championships. He kicked 24 goals in the 6 games, 8 against WA, and at 199 centimetres, every club would love him.
The sort of players you can build a team around. When you talk X Factor, I think one of the most famous names in the game comes to mind. It was Nakai Cockatoo, the bolter, last year. Could it be Daniel Rioli this year?
Well, it could be, Sando, definitely. What Nakai did last year was just brilliant. The game at the MCG, then his draft combine. Daniel Rioli's done a similar thing.
Yeah, and it was a game in the championships, this one here, Jono, when Northern Territory played Tasmania at Etihad Stadium, that Rioli just lit up. He had a fantastic game. He's a little bit like his cousin. He's explosive. He's great inside the contest. He spreads outside. But then grand final day, this was the game before the grand final. This was the All-Stars match, and he was fantastic. Had more than 20 possessions, ran up hard through the midfield, and he's really exciting in front of goal.
Now, as I mentioned before, there's a brand new bidding system for father-son and academy selections, and it can be confusing if you don't know what we're talking about. So to step us through it, listen carefully. I need to listen as well. This is Anthony Hudson and Brad Johnson.
Thanks, Jace. Well, this year's draft day is finally here, Jono, and the unveiling of the brand new bidding system for father-son players and also the youngsters coming through in the northern states from the academies.
Yeah, the best way is to show an example, Hutto. So let's focus on the Brisbane Lions. They've got 2 academy selections they'd like to pick up in this year's national draft in Eric Hipwood and Ben Keys. As you can see, they'll start with selection 2 in the national draft. They've got a stockpile from 38 through to 42 because each pick has got a points value to it. Pick 1 this year is worth 3,000 points, down to pick 73, which is 9 points. After that, it's worth 0. So Brisbane have stockpiled because they're going to need these points to select their players.
So they worked out the system and they traded, as you said, vigorously through the trade system to have those points allocated. First, though, as you said, their selection 2, as normal, no doubt will go to Josh Sheahan.
Yeah, that's right. And what a replacement for Jonathan Brown he'll be. Big power forward, an accurate kick at goal.
Yeah, well, he's going to be a talented player, but they've also identified their 2 young players coming through their academy that they really want to get. As you said earlier, Eric Hipwood is the first one. So how do they do that? Well, it depends on how the other clubs rate him. In our example, Hawthorn, let's say they bid for him at pick 15.
And pick 15 is worth 1,112 points. Because Brisbane have put the work in, they get a 20% discount, drops it to 889.6 points.
So here we go with the numbers. What Brisbane have to do is use the picks that they've accumulated and try and raise that 1,112 points, which has been discounted for them, down to 889. So pick 38 they use, that's worth 465 points. Obviously it doesn't get the job done, but it goes a fair way. When you add pick 39, bang, they've got over the mark, 446 points and a credit of 21.4, and those little points, the 21.4, get allocated their own pick in the early 70s.
Goes back to the back end of the draft, so pick 39 drops out to pick 72 in the national draft.
So that's the situation after they've picked up Eric Hipwood, but of course Brisbane aren't finished at that stage. They think, right, we've got to get our next young player through, and that's Ben Keys. Where do you reckon he might go?
Probably a second round, so we've used the Western Bulldogs pick at 21. They may bid on Ben Keys, who's a inside midfielder. Brisbane now have to match that pick 21. The value of pick 21 is 878. The set allocation discount is 197 points. So take that off, 681 points is what they need to come up with.
Yeah, again, it's a very similar situation. As you said, 681 points is what they need to get Ben Keys. So they use their pick 40, 429 points. Falls short, but that's not a problem because they've got pick 41 as well, 412 points. And this time the credit is a more healthy 160 points, and that's also allocated as a pick, and in this case, it's pick 59.
Yeah, that's right. So Brisbane have done really well here when you have a close look at it, because pick 2 they get Josh Sheahan, which is a brilliant selection, Hipwood and Keys with 15 and 20, and then they've also got pick 42, which is still sitting there. That may come into play if a club bids on Eric Hipwood before pick 15. At the moment, if it doesn't, it sits there, they'll use that selection, then they lose 38, they lose 40, 39 goes back to 72, and 41 to 59.
So all in all, Brisbane get the young player in Sheahan and their 2 players from the academy, and it's job done. It's a pretty simple system, Jason. Did you get all that?
Hopefully that sheds a bit of light on things for you, and we are expecting a little bit of bidding very, very early on in this year's draft. And whenever there's a new system in place, Shifter, the clubs are very good at testing it. But the AFL's integrity will not be tested on this matter. There's no backroom deals, no colluding over who's not going to bid and do those sorts of things, are there?
And that's the key word, colluding. So the AFL's made it clear, do not collude on not to choose a player. Pick him at the level you think he's good enough to be picked at, or they'll take severe action.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, but as we do, we think about a couple of players who have AFL in the blood. And let's face it, after all, if it runs in the family, you're going to be right in the mix.
A real football crowd. 98,000 at Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Yeah, my granddad was Murray Wiedemann. He's captain of the 1958 Premiership.
And the Magpies have done it. Sign of delirious excitement. Murray Wiedemann, the captain, being cheered off the ground.
They sort of give me a lot of insight into what's expected and how they went about things. So, yeah, it definitely helps having them around.
Pulls the kick. Look at that behind pass. Dad played 217 games for the Sydney Swans.
And he does not blink an eyelid.
Just can remember sort of stealing lollies off the trainers and singing the last song, running out in Dad's last game.
Kuno, well done, really well done.
My brother's Ed Coder and plays for Carlton.
That's a win for the Blues.
He gives some pretty good advice here and there, but you have to smart ass around the clubs and things like that, and don't talk too much, listen to what people tell you.
Archie might have to go here. Big leap and he plucks it.
Yeah, my brother gives me a fair bit of advice, basically just saying that it's hard and, you need to be switched on and motivated to do the things in order to, play games and succeed.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to have like someone that's been there and done it before, sort of had a good influence on me.
My name's Harry Mackay, centre half forward.
My name's Ben Mackay, key position.
It's got its ups and downs. You probably get noticed a little bit more being a twin, but he's a little bit annoying here and there, but yeah, he's all right. Wouldn't say it's special playing alongside each other, but it's not too bad. He's an all right player, so yeah, it's not too bad.
Kick comes in high. Mackay stood well, had the height, had the strength.
Yeah, I do enjoy playing with Harry. Yeah, it's always good fun. Bumping other blokes around the goal square is always a bit of a laugh, so yeah, it's all good, yeah.
Yeah, I've always had to look after him a little bit. He always goes sledging and starts fights, and I have to kind of look after him, but it's all right.
I reckon it's really exciting having the potential to play on each other. Finally get to show people that I'm better than him, and touch him up again. So yeah,
I think it's safe to say there'll be a bit of banter out there and a few punches, sneaky punches thrown, but yeah, something I'm looking forward to, I reckon.
Yeah, if we were to get drafted, obviously.
Another set of twins set to enter the AFL, and Ben and Harry Mackay both expected to go in the top 20-25 shifter.
I think about that, Mark. And Harry's the left footer, and Ben's the right footer that can play both ends of the ground. Harry played for the country during the year, and then Ben emerged down at Gippsland Power.
All right, if you're wondering which picks your club has got, well, we're going to take you through each and every one of them. Don't be alarmed, you've got to have at least 3 selections, but not all of these picks are going to be used. In fact, some have been stockpiled for points in the bidding system.
You can see that through GWS and what they've been able to do. The Brisbane Lions have got a few there as well, 38 through to 41, and Carlton have got a few important selections, pick 1, 8 and 11, Sando.
Yeah, they have. They've got 4 picks inside 19, and I guess the other focus will be Essendon early in this draft too, with 4 picks inside 25. Picks 4 and 5, critical this year for the Bombers.
We've spoken a little bit about the academy kids and the bidding system and all that, but there's a couple of academy kids that you're pretty keen on that'll probably go reasonably early too, Sander.
Yeah, these are young men that I had the pleasure of coaching earlier in the season. So these were young men that were in the National Academy. So they've represented their academy, and one of them is Eric Hipwood. Now he's expected to be the first Queenslander taken in this year's draft. He's 200 centimetres, 82 kilograms. He's still very lightly framed, but he's going to mature into a really promising centre half forward, centre half back. He has got that versatility, beautiful set shot for goal, left footer. He was an All-Australian this year in the championships. He's a Brisbane Lions Academy player, so that's where we're going to see probably one of the first examples tonight of the bidding process. A club might bid for him, and then the Brisbane Lions are going to have to match it. But I really like this kid. He's going to complement what the Brisbane Lions have already got in Harris Andrews up there, and we can see here his ability to kick a goal, but also he can swing and go back into defence.
That's what I like about a 200 centimetre, but his first 5 steps off the mark are actually quite quick, and he actually does get away from a defender or someone, an opposition player coming hard at him.
Super fit too, Jono. Gets up and down the ground, works really hard between the arcs. Going to be a really important player in Brisbane's future.
Sometimes you can just see their great potential in a moment, and he was switched to forward in the Nationals, kicked 4 in about 20 minutes, and that was his moment where he really arrived in our minds.
So we like the goal kickers shifter, we know that.
The other one, Jason, I like, and this is a really exciting talent from Western Australia. This is Callum Archie from South Fremantle. He played a lot of senior football in the back half of the year for South Fremantle, but he was really important for us earlier in the season in the National Academy program. He's an elusive half forward, really good decision maker. decision maker, fantastic overhead too. We'll see in a minute he takes one of the marks of the year across any grade of football, but I expect him to go early in this draft. He should be a top 10 talent, but a player that we potentially haven't heard that much about so far.
And that's the advantage too, getting to play some senior waffle football, and the guys in South Australia that play consistent senior sample football throughout the year normally come in and they're ready to go from day one.
Yeah, spot on, John, and I love the character of this young man as well. He's going to fit right into an AFL program straight away.
Well, we'll hear from a number of the draftees throughout the course of the evening, also their parents and other key players within the draft system. The man that's going to bring us all of that colour, he was picked number 77 back in 1994. Some good judges at Hawthorn will tell you he's a sleeper. Others at the Hawks will tell you he never woke up. But Ben Dixon is with us tonight. How are you, Dicko?
Oh, that's an awesome intro, Jay. So I'm here with pick 5 in 2001, Xavier Clark. Now, from the playing ranks, Xavier moved into the NT Thunder coaching. How are you enjoying that experience?
Yeah, look, it's been good, Dicko. It's a bit different, obviously, from playing the game, but you're on the other side of the fence and things are out of your control. But yeah, we had a successful year. We won the NEFL Premiership, which was really good, and hopefully we get a couple of boys taken today.
A couple of your boys we're talking about, the X Factor, Daniel Rioli, had an outstanding carnival. But tell us what he's like as a player off the field and on the field, the way you see him as a coach.
Yeah, look, Daniel's obviously played a year at the Rebels this year and had a fantastic year there, and played a great year had a great nationals where I think he sort of jumped into the spotlight and then went to the Allies game and really dominated then. And so look, he's a great kid. He comes obviously from a great family. You know, he's been living away from home for a bit of a period of time now, and we just hope that he gets to a club where he can excel and become a really good player.
We like to compare and see what the like are like. On Cyril Rioli, no pressure on him. He's won 4 premierships, but plays a very similar style, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has that X factor, and like I said, I think the last 12 to 6 months for Daniel's been a big stepping stone for him in his footy. And look, today is an exciting time for him, and like I said, hopefully he gets to a club and excels and be as good as Cyril. If he can take one of those premierships or be half as good as him, I think he'll be a big pick-up for any club.
His draft experience in terms of the combine, he was just outstanding, repeat speed, everything. It ticked all the boxes in terms of it. Where are you expecting him to go? Top 10, just outside? Where do you think he'll go?
Yeah, it's interesting to say. I hope he does go early, but I think he'll be pretty excited to get wherever he can. And like you said, his combine testing, I think he was the best tester overall at combine in all areas. So he's got a great package, but I'm sure he's a good kid with a great personality. Obviously, like I said, he comes from a great family. He's been in good programs over the last few years, and he'll do well wherever he goes.
Thanks for your time, Zave. And he's telling me off air, Jason, that he's got a couple of blokes late in the draft. They might be sleepers, but hopefully their club wakes them up in time to play a bit of footy.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can watch every selection in the draft from the first pick to the last on Channel 503. That's where you'll be kept company by a very familiar face in Sarah Jones, and also the AFL's National Talent Football Manager in Michael Ablett. We welcome them for the first time this evening. Good evening, Sarah and Mick.
Thank you very much, Jace. Well, every year there's a handful of players that make a late charge to draft day. Mick, who are the bolters in the pack tonight?
Yeah, a couple of Vic Country boys, Sarah. I really like Clayton Oliver, and when you talk bolters, this kid's it in a nutshell. He's a 17-year-old. He couldn't get a game with the Bendigo Pioneers. Relocated residence into the Murray Bushranger zone, and 12 months later, he's a Morris medalist and potential top 10 draftee. Kieran Collins, another Vic Country boy as well. He's outstanding. I know 18 months ago, I guess there was a bit of concern in his lateral movement. His kicking wasn't fantastic, and then in the last 12 months he's played on every power forward there is in the country, won 99% of those battles, and he's another one that finds himself now in the first round of the AFL draft.
Well, Jace, as you said, Mick and I will have all the draft selections as they unfold over on 503.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Now, Jono, how nervous were you back in 1993 when you're waiting to get drafted?
I think I was more nervous about the shirt I was wearing looking back, Judge, to be honest. But no, very nervous, of course. I was invited to the draft, didn't want to come along because you speak to clubs, but it is the unknown. You live in the unknown of where you might go if you'll get selected at all. And I was lucky enough to go 20 minutes down the road where some guys can go the other side of the country. So it is a big challenge and very nerve-wracking.
And not just nerve-wracking for the players either. Spare a thought for the families that have to go through this with them, not knowing where a son or a brother might end up. This is the family of Brandon White in Berwick in Victoria. Getting some great footage here. We're going to see a little bit of emotion at some stage of the evening, we hope. Hopefully not too deep in the draft.
Yeah, hard to see his draft position. He's a boy that played very well for Vic Country in their winning championship side. A left footer, plays down in defence, plays very tight, and at 189 he's versatile. He can push up the ground as well. So he looks a draftee for mine, but we can't quite pin which club.
Need to take a break. As we go to the break, we're going to have a look at a couple of very, very close friends, but in the very short-term future, they might be playing for opposition clubs and not so friendly.
Ball goes over the back. Matheson first to it, clean below the knees.
Great mates with Reece Matheson. Just grown up ever since playing footy together. I've moved schools in year 8 to be with him and play footy, so yeah, you know what you're going to get from Das each week. Just love what he brings out on the field. You know, you're going to get that 110% effort every time we cross that line, and yeah, he's a different sort of character, but yeah, always laughing with him and whatnot. So yeah, it's great to be around.
Again, Matheson, good vision from him.
He's a very skillful player, and I'm sure he's going to go high in this year's draft. And I've loved playing my career with Das all the way up to this point. So I'd love to go to the same club as him, but if that doesn't happen, I'll have to find a new Das.
Imposing figure, that of Josh Shackey, a young man we expect to go very, very high in the draft, and the sort of player you can build a team around. A forward line's going to look very, very good with Josh Shackey in it. Well, we're just about ready to get underway. The man in charge of official proceedings once again tonight up on stage is Anthony Hudson. As we say good evening to you, Hutto, we've got a big night ahead of us.
We have, Jason. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Adelaide Convention Centre for the 2015 NAB AFL Draft. Well, this is such a special event on the AFL calendar, and what a night it is for the young men, the more than 1,500 hopefuls who are hoping to move their way further along the NAB Rising Star pathway and fulfil their dreams of becoming AFL footballers. To begin official proceedings, I'd like to welcome the Chief Executive Officer of the AFL, Mr. Gillon McLachlan.
Good evening and welcome to the 30th NAB AFL Draft here at the Adelaide Convention Centre. And welcome to our thousands of fans, whether they be in the room tonight, watching live on Fox Footy or streaming live on afl.com.au. And most importantly, welcome to our young draftees and their families and friends, some here in Adelaide, others watching nervously at home. Many of our fans know your names already. You're the hope that will get them through the summer till the footy starts again. I want to thank South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill for the support of his government, and personally welcome the Minister for Sport and Major Events, Leon Bignell, and also representatives from Events SA. I'd also like to acknowledge representatives of NAB, our partner in the NAB AFL Rising Stars program, which supports the grassroots and football communities and helps young Australians fulfil their dream of playing in the AFL. In particular, I want to welcome and thank the NAB's General Manager of Retail in South Australia and the Northern Territory, Greg Harris. And a welcome to all of our clubs. There are 18 fierce rivals in the adjoining selection room here tonight. And for your recruiting teams, this is your grand final. Don't muck it up. As this is the AFL's first official meeting since the Toyota AFL Grand Final, I want to congratulate Hawthorn on becoming just the 5th team in history to win 3 consecutive premierships. It's a remarkable achievement. I would also like to welcome our new senior coaches, Brenton Bolton at Carlton, Don Pike at Adelaide, and John Worsfold Essendon. Tonight is the culmination of many years of hard work for the young footballers in the room. A journey that required hours on the road and in the air. Training sessions, matches and combining school with the allure of chasing the AFL dream. But if you're successful tonight, it is also the beginning. Your football career might continue at a club on the other side of the country, and your new teammates may well be Nat Fyfe or Bob Murphy, Gary Ablett or Nick Riewoldt. Now I need to outline a few details about tonight's draft. The format of the draft has changed this year, with all clubs having a separate selection room. Anthony Hudson will call out the draft selection number and the name of the club according to the draft order. Each club will electronically submit their selection for approval to the AFL administration representative located in the club selection room. Once approved, pick is in will be displayed on the main stage screen behind me and the selection will be announced. Each club will be permitted 2 minutes to make their selection, and if required, a further 2-minute extension will be granted. This year's draft is significantly different to previous years after the introduction of the new father-son and academy bidding process. If during the draft, a club bids for a nominated father-son or academy player, the bid can be matched by the nominating club. The nominating club does not have to match the bid, and if this occurs, the player is selected by the club which has made the original bid. In the case of a matching father-son and academy bid, each club will be permitted 2 minutes to make their selection, and if required, 2 further extensions will be granted. 14 players have been promoted from the rookie list, and these players will not be read out tonight. All clubs must make a minimum of 3 selections at the draft, which can include a promoted rookie. A club is not required to use a pick gained during the NAB AFL trade period. But once a club passes on a selection, that club is excluded from further involvement in the draft meeting. Finally, good luck to the fans and the clubs, but most of all, good luck to our draftees. We look forward to welcoming you to the AFL. It's now over for Anthony Hudson to commence the 2015 NAB AFL Draft.
Thank you, Gil. So just before we get underway, let's get the final thoughts of these youngsters whose lives are about to change.
You want to compete as teams, you compete as a team. But you want to die, you die as individuals.
Yeah, probably a motto that I've sort of been told over the years is if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
He's going to fly for this one.
Here he goes.
That's what we can do.
Definitely excited about playing AFL footy. I can't wait for it. Let's see if I get my chance.
I love playing footy, just the competitiveness of the sport and get to play with mates, and I believe it's the best sport in the world.
The thing I love about AFL is just the love of the game, and also playing with mates, and I just love to compete and love to win.
Over the back, it's a chance, it's a goal to Crooker.
Competitiveness, I'm very passionate about the game.
Fantastic work from Ben Keane.
Just love taking the field and giving 100%, I guess. I just love football in general.
Loved it since I was a kid, and just, like getting out there each week and having a run around.
The toughest part about lead up to the draft is definitely the wait. You just want to get in there and get going.
You just want to get it over with and see where you're going and see what's going to be your life for the next 2 years. So probably just the waiting around.
Toughest lead up to the draft, I guess, is just the talk about being like top 10 or whatever, but just sort of try and avoid all that and just hopefully it'll come true in the end.
The best thing is just to block it out and just pretend that really there's no difference between you and the other kids that go in the draft.
Withering does it again.
That's an unbelievable.
There's that kick.
At the end of the day, whether you pick 1 or you pick 60, you're on an AFL list and you've accomplished that part of your dream, and it's all about just working towards getting your first AFL game and obviously going from there.
What a night it is for these young men. Who will be chosen and where will they go? The waiting is over, so let's get underway. And with the first selection of the 2015 NAB AFL Draft, it's the Carlton Football Club.
And so we are officially underway. Brenton Bolton, the new coach of the Carlton Football Club, charged with rebuilding that list alongside favourite son, Steve Silvani. And you wouldn't think it'd take too long to lock in selection number one. They've had a bit of time to think about it.
No, you wouldn't think they'd need their 2 minutes here, Jason. They've had a lot of time to prepare for this moment.
Just going through the final formalities. You can see Andrew McKay there, the footy manager at the Carlton Football Club, alongside some of the key recruiting figures. And now I think Brenton Bolton is ready with pick number one of the 2015 NAB AFL Draft.
Jacob Wiedering, Dandenong Stingrays, Mount Martha Junior Football Club.
The young man has the whole package. He's a tall, athletic defender, reads the play very well, an excellent penetrating kick and elite endurance, recording a 15.5 beep test at the draft combine. He's also an outstanding leader. He was recognised by his peers in the AFL Academy, winning the Ben Mitchell Medal. His under-18 carnival also saw him earn All-Australian honours. His key attribute is his intercept marking, great hands. He loves to fly across packs, come over the top of his opponent. With the ball in hand, he is also very good, 5 foot and an excellent decision maker. With his talent to win one-on-one, his ability to read the play, run off his man to create, expect him to develop into a similar player to Alex Rance at the Tigers. Carlton fans, look out. He'll have an impact in 2016.
Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the number one draft pick, Jacob Wiedering, now with the Blues. Once again, we are delighted to have with us tonight the AFL Draft's major sponsor in NAB, and Greg Harris, the General Manager of Retail South Australian and Northern Territory, is with us. NAB have been footifying Australia since 2002, and Greg is about to present an investment portfolio worth $10,000 to Jacob, the number one draft pick. Congratulations. The wait is over, mate. You are officially now the number one draft pick and a Carlton player.
Yeah, that's it. It's an amazing opportunity I've just been given, and I can't thank everyone that's helped me over the journey, especially my family and my friends, both sitting at home watching and obviously here tonight. Thank you so much for all you've done, all my coaches, obviously the AFL as well. The Carlton Football Club for selecting me at pick number one.
You pretty excited?
Oh, very excited. I can't wait to get underway. So,
what are your expectations for next year for yourself and for the team, I suppose?
Oh, look, obviously we just got to, I can't worry about that now, I guess. I'm just going to enjoy the moment, celebrate it with friends and family, and I just look forward to the night unfolding, and hopefully, I guess, not just the football players I played against and alongside this year, but the people that I've got to know over the journey achieve their AFL dream tonight as well.
Oh, well said, and congratulations, best of luck. Cheers again.
Thank you very much.
Jacob Wiedering, what an impressive young man he is. He is the number one draft pick for 2015, and he's off to the Blues. Time now for selection 2, and it is with the Brisbane Lions Football Club.
So the Carlton Football Club have kicked things off with an outstanding young man in Jacob Wiedering. Now it is the turn of the Brisbane Lions. You can see the key figures there. What are the discussions happening across the table at the moment?
You'd think this pick would be a bit of a no-brainer either, Jason. I assume that Brisbane would have predicted that Wiedering would go at number one. They would already have their number 2 player selected now, and you can see the pick is in. We're just waiting for the Brisbane coach to make his way now to call out that name.
And I think they are ready to go. Here's Justin Leppich.
Brisbane Lions select Josh Shackey, Murray Bushrangers, Seymour Junior Football Club.
Best pure forward in this year's draft crop. He's a goal-kicking machine. He amassed a record 24-goal haul over this year's Under-18 National Carnival, included 34 goals as well, playing in 7 games at TAC Cup level. His outstanding 2015 saw him claim the Lark Medal, which is the Division 1 best and fairest at the Under-18 Championships. He was a Vic Country MVP and made the All-Australian team. An elite runner for his size, recorded a 14-1 on the beat test. With great game sense, he provides a good target on the lead, has good clean hands, and is an excellent set shot for goal. Will develop into a power forward similar to Tom Lynch at the Gold Coast Suns.
And there he is, Josh Sheahan, now with the Brisbane Lions, and Justin Leppich. And we wish Josh and the Lions all the best in season 2016. Selection 3 is with the Melbourne Football Club.
And the Demons do have a couple of picks inside the top 10, and it wouldn't surprise Shifter if we saw the first bidding here, and in fact we are now. There is a bid pending, so one of the Academy boys is on the block here.
Yeah, reinforcing the Academy rules, the clubs can make the bids. Now the Swans will be given the chance to actually match that bid. They'll need to upgrade using points to match it. We have a look at what they'll lose here. Should they accept the bid on Callum Mills, they would lose 33, 36, 37 and 43, but they need to push up to take Callum Mills at choice 3. They'd gain 3, and the other selections then would slip back. You see the 58, 65, 66. But we think he's worth it.
You can see the D's on the left and the Swans on the right, just weighing up that equation there, and he's incredibly highly rated, Callum Mills, isn't he?
It's a nervous time now for Callum Mills. He has to sit there and wait to see whether Sydney actually do match the bid, but he's a quality midfielder. Obviously, the Melbourne Football Club have ranked him or rated him as the best midfielder in this year's draft. It's a fantastic honour, and now we see whether Sydney will match it.
It would appear that the bid has been matched, because we're about to hear from Sydney coach John Longmire.
Callum Mills, Academy nominee for the Sydney Swans, North Shore Mosman Junior AFL Club.
He's excited. You can see the beaming smile there. He's a ready-made midfielder. He'll slot right in at AFL level from round 1 next year. You'd think he's got a rugby background, but he began his AFL journey with the Sydney Swans Academy at the age of 13. Breakout season last year, was awarded All-Australian honours as the bottom age player for New South Wales ACT. Injury hampered his year this year in 2015, but he continued to train and get his rehab right with the Sydney Swans senior side. A prolific ball winner with a focus, maturity and motivation well beyond his years. Strong, aggressive and tough around the contest. He's courageous and he's hell-bent on winning the ball at all costs. He's also a great overhead mark for his size. He'll make a headache for any defender when he pushes forward. And he's got great comparisons to the skipper of the Geelong Football Club in Joel Selwood.
And he's now a Sydney Swan, Callum Mills, everyone, joining John Longmire Harbourside. Once again, it's selection 4 is the Melbourne Football Club.
And I'm sure they probably expected the Sydney Swans to match the bid for Callum Mills. So they don't get Callum Mills, but they do get the next selection.
Yeah, but interesting here, Jason, because they've gone with a midfielder as that bid. It's whether they stick with that same strategy and select another midfielder with this pick.
All right, looks like the coach of the Melbourne Football Club is ready. Here's Paul Roos.
Clayton Oliver, Murray Bushrangers, Marupna Junior Football Club.
He finished the year so strong, did Clayton Oliver. He rose to prominence late in this year's TAC Cup season for the Murray Bushrangers. He won the 2015 Morrish Medal. He's a stoppage star, a revelation in the TAC Cup, averaging 25 possessions, including 15 contested, as well as an average of 6 tackles and 6 clearances per game. He uses the ball efficiently, managed the perfect score in the goal-kicking test at the National Combine at Etihad Stadium, and good comparisons to the Brisbane Lions skipper, Tom Rockcliffe.
And he's now a demon at pick 4. Clayton Oliver joining Paul Roos and Simon Goodwin at Melbourne. Selection 5 is the Essendon Football Club.
Now we know it's been a very trying time for the Essendon Football Club in recent seasons, but they get the opportunity with a couple of top 10 picks tonight to get some much needed talent into the squad.
And they've got the next 2 picks, Jason, and it's whether they go with a midfielder and a key position player or just 2 mids. Very interesting to see what they go here.
Well, it is interesting. They also have a brand new coach in John Worsfold, and he's ready to go.
The next player to don the sash is Darcy Parish, Geelong Falcons, Winchelsea Football and Netball Club.
Essendon fans screaming out for class. Well, they got it here with Darcy Parish, one of the classiest midfielders in the 2015 draft pool. An elite kick on both sides of the body, has excellent endurance as well. He's a dual All-Australian who hunts the ball constantly, averaged 28 disposals and 7 clearances in the TAC Cup this year, which are absolutely massive numbers. An elite decision maker. He's comfortable around the stoppages, can hurt the opposition on the outside as well with some pure run. His ability to win the ball makes him a threat when you combine his explosive pace and agility in traffic. His work ethic and solid endurance recorded a 13.8 feet test. Expect him to develop into a Rory Sloane or a Lockie Whitfield as he dons the sash next year.
So Darcy Parish from the Geelong Falcons is now a Bomber with John Worsfold and the team. And selection 6 is once again the Essendon Football Club.
It'll be interesting to see what the tactic is here, whether it is purely and simply the best player available or whether they go to fill a specific need.
Well, I think they've got to start to think about size for mine and get that key position player. I think there'll be 7 or 8 that'll be in the top 15 that are tall, are capable of being that marking target up forward or playing on the big forwards as well down back. So I reckon they'll go tall.
I think it could be Wiedemann or Curnow or the classic utility. I like Aaron Francis from West Adelaide here in South Australia.
We'll see Adrian Dodoro there, who's been head of recruiting at Essendon for many a year, and I'm sure that John Worsfold, as new coach of the Essendon Football Club, is happy to be busy this early.
Aaron Francis, West Adelaide, Loxton North.
Well, Sando, you picked it, and why wouldn't you pick this young man? He's big, he's tough, he's talented. He's a South Australian. He was a standout player in the Under-18 Championships. Versatile, play down back, up forward, through the midfield. He's pretty quiet off the field, but he's a fierce competitor on it. He's elite agility and great speed for his size. He earned All-Australian honours with a dominant carnival, and he's an elite intercept mark, loves the one-on-one contest situation, and he's rarely beaten using his size to advantage. He's a master at reading the play and sets his team up on the rebound. With the versatility to impact around the ground whenever required, he resembles the likes of Brenton in the way that he plays his football. And he can push forward, as you can see here, impact the scoreboard. Round 2 of the championships, he had 21 and kicked 4 goals.
And there he is, South Australian boy headed to Essendon, Aaron Francis. Selection 8, the Gold Coast Suns.
Well, it was a very disappointing 2015 for the Gold Coast Suns, but the silver lining of that black cloud is an early selection, and there is a bid pending because they are going after one of the GWS Academy boys.
Yeah, this is Jacob Hopper, who played this year for North Ballarat, had an outstanding season, obviously part of the GWS Academy. He's an in and under hard-winning midfielder who also spreads really hard outside the contest. He also takes marks and kicks goals forward. I actually liken him, Jason, a little bit to Patrick Dangerfield, the way that he plays. He's that good.
Well, if he's anything like that, they will do that very comfortably then, matching the bid.
Yes, and it's all they need to do. They'll lose 11, which they hold at the minute, the Giants, and gained 7. To go
Tough-
up to
tough
7
decision,
to take...
Shifter?
Not a tough decision at all. I really like this player. Wins his own footy, a great size at 186 as well, and as we said, hits the scoreboard when he gets forward.
And especially with the injuries that Gold Coast had last year, they've got stars to come back in every single line, and you add the young talent here with that as well. With GWS, they'd love him if they got him, the Gold Coast Suns, and GWS didn't match that bid because of what they've got coming back anyway. But you think you've got Gubby Allen, Adrian Caruso there, they'll match this bid, don't worry.
Well, they didn't have to wait too long. It has been matched. Here's GWS coach Leon Cameron.
GWS Giants, Jacob Hopper. Giants Academy nominee, North Ballarat Rebels, Leeton Witten Crows.
Sando, as we've discussed, lose Trelaw and get this man straight into their lineup. He's a ball-winning bull, an elite extractor who influences games. He's got elite endurance, he's got strength across the ground, especially in the contest, loves his stoppage and contested work around the ground. He's a natural leader, loves to lead by example, earning All-Australian honours at the Under-18 Championships, voted MVP for New South Wales ACT this year. Ollie Wines, who plays for Port Adelaide over here in South Australia, is very similar to this man here, Jacob Hopper.
A big smile for Jacob Hopper, who is off to the GWS Giants. Selection 8 is next from the Gold Coast Suns.
So the Gold Coast Suns' first pick was originally 6. A couple of academy kids have been chosen, so they now go to pick 8. Great to see so many key position players going early. Which way do we expect Gold Coast to go?
Well, it's interesting to see whether they keep with the same strategy. So they've just bid on a midfielder. Now do they switch and perhaps go for one of those great tools that are still on the draft boards, or whether they stick with their original strategy?
All right, we're about to find out, because here's Rodney Eade.
The Gold Coast Suns select Calamachi, South Fremantle, Kelmscott Junior Footy Club.
He's the brother of Port Adelaide player Brandon Archie, one of the most exciting medium forwards in this year's draft. He's got pace, agility and tremendous natural leap, taking one of the biggest marks I've ever seen on the MCG. He's already proven himself in senior ranks, taking on the Northern Blues for the NAB AFL Academy and taking, as I said, one of the best marks I've seen. Also very impressive in the waffle this year, playing senior football for South Fremantle. He's among one of the most skillful players in the draft, boasting brilliant use by foot, pinpoint short passes on both sides of his body, and has brilliant vision to match.
And he's now with the Gold Coast Suns, Calamachi at selection 8. And selection 9 is once again the Melbourne Football Club.
Here, a couple of top 10 selections for Melbourne. We've seen them already with Clayton Oliver at pick number 4. Now they come in at pick number 9.
Yeah, and I think they're going to have to go for the tall here, Jason. As Shifter mentioned before, we've still got Sam Wiedemann and Charlie Curnow on the boards, so expect one of those players to come here.
Didn't have to wait too long. Here's Paul Roos.
Sam Wiedemann, Eastern Rangers, Vermont Juniors.
Well, he's going to slot in nicely next to Jesse Hogan. Sam Wiedemann, one of the strongest tall forwards in this year's draft crop. He's got special ability to take a contested mark as well, win the ball on the ground and kick accurately in front of goal. Did a truckload of work with Matthew Lloyd this year as part of the AFL Academy. The grandson of Collingwood Premiership captain Murray Wiedemann for his football and has always stood out for his courage and aggression on the field. He impressed on the MCG when he stood out for the NAB AFL Academy this year. A player on the rise, and look for him to shine in 2016.
And here he is with the coach, Paul Roos. He's now a Demon after being picked up at selection number 9. Selection 10, the Carlton Football Club.
So here are the Blues. As we said, they've got 4 first-round selections. Plenty of talent to choose from here.
Yeah, and they went with obviously Jacob Wiedering, the centre half back. Do they go with another forward there? We mentioned Curnow and Mackay, or do they go the next best mid?
All right, let's have a listen now to Brenton Bolton.
Harry Mackay, Gippsland Power, Warragul Football Club.
Well, we saw a feature earlier on with his twin brother, and he gets the first crack with the Carlton Football Club. He's a forward, he's a ruck, he can pinch hit forward and move into the defence as well. Intercept mark floating back as a ruckman. And look, he's a left footer, he's a tall forward. He's a standout performance against South Australia in the NAB AFL Under-18 Championships. He won all Australian honours. He has good habit of taking the ball at the highest point, similar to Drew Petrie. And if he can have the influence for the Blues like Drew Petrie does at North Melbourne, look out over the next couple of years.
And there he is, Harry Mackay, rounding off our top 10 draft picks in 2015.
So there are the top 10 selections. I don't think too many surprises, although Clayton Oliver going at pick 4 was probably the one that's really jumped up Shifter.
Bolter from the blue, I'd call him. That's fantastic to see him do that. It just shows that the second half of the year in finals form can be pretty important. I like him to a Paddy Cripps, runner-up in the Rising Star, wins that contested footy, plays with great passion, and he hits the scoreboard, kicks 6 in a game this year against the Bendigo Pioneers.
It's a change to only 3 midfielders in the top 10.
Exactly
Actually
right.
4 near 4 with Hopper there in the top 10. A lot of taller type players in the top 10 this year.
It's a unique draft, boys. This is to see 5 key position players this early is something that we don't see every year. Obviously shows there's some great young talented big men out there.
Let's go back on stage where Anthony Hudson has the top 10 of the class of 2015.
Indeed, Jason, let's bring them out in their new colours, the top 10 draft picks in the NAB AFL Draft in 2015, starting with number 1, Jacob Wiedering, who's now a Blue, and then at 2, Josh Shackey, at 3, Callum Mills, at 4, Clayton Oliver, who's gone to the Demons, 2 Bomber Boys at 5 and 6, Darcy Parish and Aaron Francis, at 7, Jacob Hopper, at 8, Callum Archie, who joins the Gold Coast Suns, at 9, Sam Wiedemann, who's now a Demon, and Harry Mackay rounding out the top 10. He is with the Blues. And ladies and gentlemen, there they are. A round of applause for our class of 2015.
So there are the top 10 selections of 2015. We've heard a lot about so many of those players, but let's face it, picks 11 to 19 are just as important.
Critical, Jason, and congratulations to those 10 players. And didn't some of those guys look like they're ready to step out and play next week?
Absolutely.
You know, Jacob Wiedering there, pick 1, just looks fantastic. Carlton going with the centre half back and the centre half forward. A little bit like Hawthorn, Jason, back in the day when they took Ruffhead and Franklin early in the draft. So a bit of time, a bit of patience for those Carlton fans, but really good selections for that club.
And great to see 2 youngsters from New South Wales in the top 10 in the draft. We see Jacob Hopper, of course, from the Riverina area, and Callum Mills from the heart of Sydney. So wonderful for the game to see those boys emerging from those markets.
And Wiedering had 30 on the back, whether that stays, and Mills had 14, made famous by Paul Kelly, of course.
It's going to be a lot of excitement for people right around the country as they see some of the early draftees that are coming to their club. Let's go back to Anthony Hudson as round 1 of the draft continues.
Selection 11 is with the Adelaide Football Club.
Now, the Crows are interesting because we also have to take into account the go-home factor, particularly with some of the interstate teams, whether you pick locally or whether you pick someone from interstate.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jason. Obviously, I've sat on that table before, and I know the discussions will be go-home factor. They just lost Paddy Dangerfield. They'll be looking for the next best South Australian talent. and maybe stay away from the Metro boys from Victoria. But there's some fantastic talent still to be chosen here on the draft boards.
Well, we've heard from a couple of new coaches already. Now it's the turn of Don Pike.
The Adelaide Crows select Wayne Malera, Central District's Ingle Farm Football Club.
He's the boy with the dancing feet. He's the nimble half forward that really emerged playing for SA at under 18 level and then starred for Central Districts at senior level. Played well in a final, which is pretty important against the men, and Malera, a star of the future, no doubt.
Selection 12, the Carlton Football Club.
A bit of deliberation here.
Yeah, as I said, Jason, they've had a centre-half back and a centre-half forward. Maybe they would have wanted Malera. There's times when I've sat there, Jason, on those tables, and you just think, that's the one we wanted. And Adelaide have just taken Malera, so now they're just probably talking about midfielders. Who's the next best outside player? Remember, they lost Yaron, Henderson, Bell and Menzel in the off-season. But we can see now Brenton Bolton making his way to stage. They've obviously made a decision.
Yeah, some good discussion, and then the coach is on the move. So with their third pick inside the top 20, we wait for Brenton Bolton from the Carlton Football Club. A little bit of a walk from those back rooms as they come through to the stage to make the pick, but it was good to see a little bit of discussion there, and you like to see the coach and the recruiting manager side by side in earnest discussion, don't you?
You have to put so much trust, Jason, in your recruiting team, your national recruiting manager, your list manager. These guys watch all these young players play throughout the season. You've got to almost hand over the keys on draft night. It's their night. Yes, you can debate, but typically it's those guys that are making the key decisions tonight.
All right, let's go back to Brenton Bolton now.
Charles Curnow, Geelong Falcons, Torquay.
Of course, the brother of Ed Curnow. They've picked the youngster that, well, very different to his brother. He's a 191 centimetre guy that can play as the mercurial forward. He can even push up into the midfield. He's a bit like a Nat Fyfe, actually. Some of the things he did late in the year after coming back from injury were very, very special. I think he's going to make a real player for the Blues.
Selection 13, the Richmond Football Club.
So the first selection for the Tigers in this year's draft, and they look to be in earnest discussion. Damien Hardwick down the back corner, Dan Richardson there as well.
I think they need some outside speed, Jason. I think they've got a fantastic squad, obviously really going to push for finals again in 2016, but it's the outside speed I think they need.
Bid pending there.
All right, they have made a bid for one of the academy kids in Matthew Kennedy.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. He's a midfielder that can actually spread hard outside. Bit of a bolter shifter this year. Matthew Kennedy, we didn't know much about him at the start of this year.
Yeah, premiership player with Colin Gully. There wouldn't be too many that can claim that then step up to play on the MCG Grand Final day for the Allies, the combined side out of New South Wales.
There's the equation for us, Shifter.
There's the equation. So to lose 34 and 40, need to upgrade to take him at choice 13. So I think it's an easy decision. This boy's really emerged in the last 12 months to be a potential start. Coached by Ty Kennelly, the coach of New South Wales ACT at under 18 level. And as I say, a premiership player with his brothers there at Colin Gully.
And I think GWS have made that easy decision. Here's Leon Cameron.
Matthew Kennedy, Giants Academy, Colin Gully, Ashmont, Kapooka Football Club.
It's a great effort. We've had plenty of time to talk about Matthew Kennedy over the last minute while the decision was being made, but great that once again one of the academies has been able to produce a super talent that gets his chance now in the AFL environment.
Once again, the next selection is with Richmond at selection 14.
So a couple of good early selections for the Tigers.
Yeah, now pick 14. Whether the strategy changes, very much like a Jimmy Bartell type, Matthew Kennedy, who's just been selected, whether they go still down that path or whether they go completely different.
Is there room for a club just to keep another club honest with this bidding process? In fact, we have another bid in here for one of the academy players in one of the ones you told us about earlier, Sando, Eric Hipwood.
Yeah, he's the boy, 202 centimetres, I should say, young man. Fantastic, versatile player. So they've changed their strategy, Jason. They went for the inside mid with a bit of outside speed, and now they've gone for the centre half back.
And this is the way it looks, Jace. Brisbane would lose 36 and 37, move up to 14, 37 to 39.
It's one of the easiest deals you'd ever take.
Wow, that's not too bad, is it? It's for a 200 centimetre who can play forward, back and pinch it through sort of a midfield ruck sort of option for you. It's not a bad thing. You'd certainly take that on, Sando.
It's the one that we talked about that kicked 4 goals in about 20 minutes of the National Championships. That's the moment he arrived. He can play, as we say, back and forward, a bit like a Joey Danaher when he plays forward. Lightly built, but massive upside physically.
And when you see here, guys, when you're looking at what they're looking at on their screen, they'll be looking at calculations, they'll be looking about where the picks move, they'll also be looking at their draft board, they'll be looking what else they really rate, so their next sort of ranked players, to see whether if they did allow Richmond to take Hipwood, who would be their next pick. But I feel a bit sorry here for Richmond boys.
Yeah, they've had a couple of goes,
They've had a couple of goes at academy players here, so
and they've missed out both times because here's Justin Leppich.
Brisbane Lions select Eric Hipwood, Academy nominee for the Brisbane Lions, Aspley Football Club.
Another tall in the draft. This is uncanny. There's been, I think that's 7 now key position players have gone early in this draft in the first round.
They're so athletic. They run big beeps. They're great athletes as well, these boys.
Selection 15, the Richmond Football Club.
Let's hope it's third time lucky. But what they have done is they've kept a couple of clubs honest, haven't they?
Yeah, and as Shifter mentioned before, with the integrity of the competition, they actually have to pick the player they think is next on their draft boards. As you can see there, they've gone for another academy player.
No, that's come down now, so it's not pending. That has come down, so they're going to select a player. You talk about maybe some speed and players that we've focused on early on. There's Rioli, he's still floating around through that. Matheson maybe inside to help a Cochin. That's some of the type of player that Richmond could be looking at.
Well, it's been hard fought getting this pick across for the Tigers, but finally Damien Hardwick is ready.
The Richmond Football Club picked Daniel Rioli, St Mary's, East Point Football Netball Club, Northern Territory.
Isn't it wonderful? Absolutely wonderful to see another Rioli at the Richmond Football Club. Morris, a champion player for them. Young Daniel is from the Tiwi Islands. He's moved down to Victoria, played at North Ballarat this year, but a star for the NT in the National Championships. And what a famous name that we've had in the AFL now for 20 to 30 years, the Rioli name. The name continues.
Selection 16 is the Adelaide Football Club.
So a couple of first round selections for the Adelaide Crows, and we have a bid pending here. Harrison Himmelberg.
Well, it's interesting because if the bids has come in, Don Pike's just walking towards the stage, so he must be really confident.
He's very confident that Harrison Himmelberg is going to Adelaide.
Because he is a GWS Academy player, so that'll be interesting to see how this unfolds.
And a boy that starred on the MCG in that Allies game. He won the best on-ground medal on the MCG, a 192 centimetre boy from the Riverina, moved into Canberra to play his footy.
And there's a bit involved here too for GWS. Lose 48, 50, 53 and 59. Those draft picks that they stockpiled through the trade period move up to 16, and then they move to 61, 64 and 71.
And they've already had to do it a couple of times, GWS, haven't they?
Well, he's back, Jason. Don Pike's come back to the table, and Leon Cameron's not there. So whether GWS are going to match this bid, that's probably the first surprise in the draft, Jason. That's a very high bid for Harrison. He's an excellent player, really high energy, third tall forward. He's a 19-year-old, so didn't get drafted last year. GWS now obviously looking to match that bid.
And in fact, they have matched the bid because once again, it's Leon Cameron.
Harrison Himmelberg, Giants Academy.
So they've had to use a number of their draft picks, haven't they? And very fortunate they stockpiled a number of them, particularly GWS, because it's a couple of times they've had to go to the back pocket to splurge a few picks.
They have, but early on it didn't affect them too much. That's probably the biggest one so far, the surprise of Himmelberg being nominated so early.
Be interesting to see what they do now later in the draft, because they've used 3 picks quite early. Obviously the picks go right out the back now. They've still got some academy players that they'd like to pick up. So time now just to wait and see.
Selection 17 is once again the Adelaide Football Club.
It's probably one of the teams you think is ready to make an assault if they can get the right couple of players into that mix. Even though they have lost Paddy Dangerfield, there's still a very talented squad.
Yeah, they've picked up Hampton, Menzel and Seedsman. They've done really well in the trade period, the Adelaide Crows, and obviously picking the local boy in Malira. They've got a really good squad. Very tough draw next year. It'll be tough for them, but certainly got the talent.
Had plenty of discussion. We haven't. In fact, he is ready there now. Don Pike once again for the Adelaide Football Club.
The Adelaide Crows select Tom Doudet from Geelong Falcons St Joseph's Football Club.
Well, they've gone for the medium defender who is a close-down player, a boy that was elite in the basketball arena but switched back to footy in the last couple of years and comes from that great program there at the Geelong Falcons that have been producing great draftees for many years. Great closing speed, very disciplined player, great run out of defence and a great pick-up for the Crows.
Selection 18, the St Kilda Football Club.
So now for the first time we see the St Kilda Football Club with their first selection in the draft, Alan Richardson the coach, and they look like they've still got a bit to chat about.
Yeah, I still like a midfielder for this selection. You can see the coach making his way to the dais now. I know they really like Harley Ballack, who's a big-bodied midfielder from the Sandringham Dragons, lives locally. Be interesting to see what they go with here. There's not the quality with the tools. We know they went really early, but I can see a big-bodied mid really helping St Kilda.
Team that looks to have a lot of good young talent already that they're starting to build, so they'd love to get another couple of quality players in to sort of grow them together under Alan Richardson.
Last year McCartan, they got Goddard as well, so they got the tools last year, so you're right. Maybe there's someone to help in and under a little bit as well is important for Saints next year.
Well, they've still got Dunstall, Armitage, Stephen. Remember there's the bid tonight for father-son in Rice, so this is a critical pick for the Saints.
Yeah, it's important. It really is, and that's the key for the Saints. They're on the rise. They want to be on the rise. Maybe they want to make a massive impact in 2016 and really jump similar to what the Bulldogs did last year.
All right, I think Alan Richardson is ready for the Saints' first pick.
Jade Gresham, Northern Knights, South Morang Football Club.
Gone for the no-fuss clearance star. This boy had the most wonderful year. MVP for Vic Metro, starred at the Northern Knights, just prolific ball winner. He captained the Northern Knights, an Indigenous boy, and he bounces up, as Tommy Hafer would say, like the Indian rubber man. He hits the deck and up in a flash, he hits the scoreboard and he goes forward. Had a stellar year and great to see him get his opportunity.
Selection 19 is the Hawthorn Football Club.
Well, they haven't had too many early selections in recent seasons, the Hawks, so I think they're pretty keen to get a couple of young players into the mix. They do have a pretty experienced squad, so I think it's really important for the Hawks to get some quality young players coming in.
Yeah, of course, they're going to start to transition their list, you'd think, over the next 3 to 4 years, and that's important. And it really does start with this year's draft, because in a couple of years, the likes of Hodge and Mitchell and the real champions of the game and this club will probably step away from the game. So that next row of talent needs to start coming through.
Graham Wright, the head of recruiting for the Hawks, got a pretty experienced team around him as well.
A couple of really good set-up kicks still on the draft boards too, Jason. I really like Darcy Tucker from North Ballarat and Riley Bonner, a local player here from West Adelaide who's almost a quarterback. He suits the sort of style that Hawthorn play. As we said, the key position players are pretty much off the board. They're really high quality. Still Ben Mackay though. Ben Mackay, who we saw his brother Harry get drafted earlier, he's still available on the draft boards.
All right, let's find out which way the Hawks are going to go with Alistair Clarkson.
the Hawthorn Football Club, Ryan Burton, North Adelaide, Foss Camden.
Well, he's the boy that, of course, had the badly broken leg 14 months ago. So he's the Jake Stringer of this draft, touted as a top 5 pick probably last year. He's overcome that injury now, back in great physical condition. Very talented medium forward, around the 190 centimetre mark, a goal kick, a brilliant kick for goal, very athletic and a great choice, Ryan Burton.
Selection 20, the Gold Coast Suns Football Club.
So once we start getting 20 picks or so in, I think we're going to see some deeper discussions around these tables, aren't we, Sando?
Yeah, and the Gold Coast Suns lost Charlie Dixon, we know, in the off-season. They have got a fantastic squad. A lot of players returning from injury next season. Remember, they took Speed, the half-forward Calamachi, with their first selection. So it may be a different strategy now. Go more for a needs basis with this pick.
Here's the next pick for the Suns with Rodney Eade.
Gold Coast select Braden Fiorini, Northern Knights, Greensborough Juniors.
Another prolific ball winner, averaged over 30 possessions a game playing for the Northern Knights, played for Vic Metro, a lefty, classy winner of the football in all circumstances, inside or outside, really developed as the year unfolded, and he's going to make a player for the Suns.
Selection 21 is with the North Melbourne Football Club.
Now, for the first time tonight, we see North Melbourne, another team that'll be looking to bolster their squad. They're thereabouts with a couple of top 4 finishes in recent seasons.
Yeah, and potentially, Jono, looking here, I think, for key position players, you know, with Drew Petrie being 33 years of age now, whether they go for a different strategy to that. I still think Kieran Collins might be the right pick for North Melbourne here. I'm surprised to see him get as low as 21. We could see Brad Scott was quickly almost running to the dice, Jason, so he really likes this pick when he gets up to this stage, but still some fantastic players left to go.
Well, he's ready to go, Sando. Here's Brad Scott.
The North Melbourne Football Club select Ben Mackay, Gippsland Power, Warragul Netball and Football Club.
Well, the twins are up. Fantastic to see it become the 7th set of twins to be drafted into the AFL, which is just fantastic. And it just shows, again, that you don't have to have starred for 2 or 3 years in a row to get a chance at AFL level. He made the switch into play for Gippsland Power into the season. Once you could see how well his twin brother was going, playing for Gippsland and for Vic Country, and had a wonderful second half of the year. Plays both ends of the ground, 200 centimetre boy that, doesn't turn 18 until the day before Christmas, but great for the Mackay family.
Selection 22, the Hawthorn Football Club.
This is the second early selection for the Hawks, so a couple of first-round picks at the back end of the first round, but nevertheless a couple of important picks for this club.
Yeah, Ryan Burton was a great selection for them because he's much better than pick 19, but he had the horrific leg injury, so they can take their time with him. They can be patient. They can wait for him to overcome the injury. Now I think they just they pull the trigger on the next best available talent for the Hawthorn Footy Club.
They've got serious talent as it is, Jason, already.
Well, here comes some more talent because Alistair Clarkson's ready to go.
Selection 22, Hawthorn Football Club, Kieran Lovell, Kingborough Junior Tigers Football Club.
Kieran Lovell is from Kingston in Tasmania. Now, he's only small, 174 centimetres, but he's an accumulator. He wins the footy. Great clearance player. Had a fantastic championships. Surprised to see him go that high, but he's going to play AFL footy straight away.
Selection 23, the Carlton Football Club.
Well, he is the 4th of the Blues' first-round picks, the last pick of round 1.
They've gone 3 tools, Jason, so can they go for 4 tools?
I'm amazed at the number of key position and tall type players that have gone in the first 22 picks.
It's a unique year. It's been a draft year where we've seen so much rich talent, key position players be available, but there's still some fantastic midfielders I mentioned before. Tucker, Bonner, Mitch Hibbard from Tasmania is still on the boards. I like Ben Crocker from Oakley, who's a goal-kicking forward. Blake Hardwick kicked bags of 12 and 10 this year for Eastern. There's some fantastic players still available in this draft.
I like Hardwick as well because he's tough. He likes to scrap as well as compete and kick the goals, which are important. But he puts good forward pressure on as well.
I think they certainly need some goal kickers, the Blues too, don't they?
Well, they do. Then they've lost Menzel as well over here, so that's the one for the Blues potentially to pick up. Brenton Bolton has made his way. The pick is now in. We just wait for him to make his way up. But Steve Silvani's had some big selections so far, and it's very important. They're starting to rebuild there at Carlton, and it starts tonight. And the selections they've made already have been critical. Kieran Collins is the other one who may sneak in as a fullback.
Ballock and Matheson still available too, boys, who are fantastic young mids. To see them go out of the top 22, Ballock from Sandringham, Matheson from the Geelong Falcons, both of those players would come in and help Carlton straight away.
Well, they certainly took their time. There's a new coach. He must think it's Christmas, Brendan Bolton, because he has had 4 picks in round 1. And with the last pick of round 1, here he is once again.
David Cunningham, Oakley Chargers, Canterbury Junior Football Club.
All right, so that is the end of round 1 of the 2015 AFL National Draft. Now, and we'll look back at it. I don't think there were too many surprises, although a couple jumped up a bit higher than we thought, and maybe a couple slipped down.
Yeah, and David Cunningham there, of course, pace is his X factor. He's got a couple of gears, a bit like a Rolls Royce, can just accelerate away from the stoppages, and that's what they've gone for with that selection.
So we're looking at picks 11 through to 23. We've got a couple of pages to look at here. Harrison Himmelberg was one you said, Sando, you thought was a bit of a bolter.
Yeah, I love him. I think he's a fantastic athlete. He runs really hard between the arcs. He's that sort of third tall forward. Surprised to see him get bid on so early though. GWS won't be happy with that. That's going to cost them a lot of points. Surprised to see the Crows too pass on a couple of South Australians and pick a Victorian, but that's fine as well. And here we can see the last couple of selections. The Mackay boys, the twins going in the top 21. That's a fantastic story.
All right, we're going to take a break here at the Adelaide Convention Centre. Round 2 coming up on the other side. And a few clubs still to enter the draft for the first time.
Are you with me? Are you with me?
Jacob Wiedering, Dandenong Stingrays, Mount Martha Junior Football Club.
The number 1 draft pick, Jacob Wiedering, now with the Blues.
Welcome back to the Adelaide Convention Centre for the 2015 NAB AFL Draft, where Jacob Wiedering was selected by Carlton as the number 1 pick in this draft. Of course, we'll keep you apprised of everything that's happening in round 2 of the draft. You can switch over to channel 503 if you want to watch every selection as it happens. But right now, we have the pleasure of talking to the number 1 draft, Jacob Wiedering. Jacob, welcome to you. Thanks for your time. You must be relieved now that it's finally out and over. A little bit of feedback there from one of the speakers, but is relief the overriding emotion right now?
Yeah, definitely. First, thanks for having me. It's an amazing opportunity I've just been given to start an AFL career. Obviously coming here with a family and friends to enjoy it, and it's fantastic that Carlton's selected me at number 1, and just looking forward to getting started.
Everyone's been saying you're going to be number 1. Just before I let you loose, Jono,
no worries.
How long have you known for?
Brendan Bolton and Stephen Silvani came to the house probably just after Combine, and they didn't indicate that they were going to take me at pick number 1. They were just, very confident that if they did keep number 1, that they would pick me at number 1. And I guess that gave me a little bit of relief going into the draft. But no, they didn't make it a certainty, I guess. So it still kept me on edge a little bit.
It really is a fresh start for the Carlton Football Club. But what impressed you the most about sitting down with Brendan Bolton?
Yeah, it's funny. Obviously, they came to the house. Sauce is 6'5", and Brendan Bolton's a little bit smaller. But,
that won't get back at all.
No, not at all. But no, look, as soon as he opens his mouth, it's a whole different story. And he's an amazing person just to speak to. First impressions. I'm just really looking forward to getting started with someone that's going to lead the club, out of a dark hole currently. And they do need a bit of a new start, a new coach, I guess. And I guess it starts from the top as well with Sauce making a few changes and obviously getting a few fresh faces in there. And as I said, I'm just looking forward to getting started.
What about, Jacob, your mentors or the people that you've sort of looked up to and helped you get to here? Have you modelled your game on anyone in particular in the AFL?
Yeah, look, you two certainly were influential in getting me through. So, no, look, I've had plenty of mentors over the journey, and I've been very fortunate in the academies I've been through, Vic Country, and obviously the National Academy, and with my TAC Cup club at Dandenong Stingrays there. So I've met plenty of people across the journey. There's names like Glenn Jakovich, yourself, and Jono, and Mickey Ablett as well, Shifter. I can keep reeling the names off, and they're just AFL champions and people that have had so much knowledge.
Who do you see yourself playing like? So for the Carlton fans at home, who do you actually look like when you play? Is there a current AFL player?
Yeah, I think for me it's definitely Harry Taylor. I do model my game off Harry Taylor. He's I guess I've got similar attributes to him. I guess my marking ability and reading the play. I guess he's got quite a good kick as well, penetrating kick out of the back line, and he doesn't just worry about the defensive side of things, he certainly creates a bit of offence.
Jacob, what did your year look like? Because it just must have been a truckload of football that you played. How did you manage it all?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult heading into your draft year. You've got so many teams to worry about, your TAC Cup team, your national team, and your Vic Country team, and I guess your school team as well, depending on where you go, and you've got to juggle year 12 study with all that as well. But I think the people that I surrounded myself with, as I said before, my family and my friends and my mentors, they've got me through, and they've provided me with all the care and support, and I've got to this point.
Take a breath, Jacob, because we're going to go and catch up with Ben Dixon, who's with a couple of pretty happy parents.
Certainly are, Jason, Darren and Tanya. Firstly, the relief, it was number one, the big build-up, but I saw the release on your faces, finally, the great decision.
Absolutely fantastic. No, we were just thrilled. It's been a long journey, but we're finally here, and it's amazing that his name was called out.
Darren, I'll ask you, back in April it started to ramp up, number one pick. The pressure, he seems a so composed kid and very obviously grounded. How did he handle it indoors at home, and obviously you're his biggest supporter?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we're just his sort of support mechanism, and he's just a calm kid, and I think that's what's helped get him to this point.
Tanya, you've been driving him around all year. Tell us a little bit about it, because his birthday was yesterday, so now he can get his licence, but are you going to drive him to Icon Park now? What's the story?
No, the plan is hopefully he'll drive himself. He's going for his licence on Friday. So hopefully he'll be driving himself.
So when you had him during the year, he'd sleep there. Would he give you conversation on the way back from training? These young boys wear themselves out.
No, Jacob always he was quite happy for me to drive because he always liked to have a nap. So he'd sleep after school on the way to training, and we'd keep a spray bottle in the glove box to wake him up. So I was always a bit worried actually how he'd start off at training, but once he warmed up he'd be fine. Yeah.
A lot of kids, Darren, don't grow into footy. They play basketball and everything. You played a lot of footy. Did he sit on your hip and ask you questions about the game? How did he come up as a kid playing the game?
No, we actually had Jake after I'd finished playing football, so there wasn't that real early sort of dad-son watching dad sort of thing. So no, but always encouraging to play through Auskick, which he loved, and just developed his love of the game from there.
Both St Kilda supporters, dare I ask, you going to buy a Saints membership next year?
No, I'm a blue bagger now.
Yeah, one in, all in.
Well, congratulations. It's a big moment for yourself and Jacob, so congratulations. Enjoy the moment.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back to you, Jason.
Thanks, Digger. You obviously get great support from the family. We must wish you a happy birthday for yesterday, and good luck for your driving test on Friday. That's going to be an absolute beauty. Your parents are St Kilda supporters. Does that mean you grew up barracking for the Saints?
No, I was actually, it started off at Auskick. Dad read all the names out for the AFL teams, and I like the sound of Melbourne Demons, so I stuck with them for, up until today, I guess.
Any hopes of playing for the D's at any stage?
I think I'm quite happy with the Blue Baggers for now, so very fortunate to be given the opportunity and just looking forward to getting started.
You're obviously a fair lump of a lad. Are you ready to play straight away? Do you feel confident to play AFL straight away?
It's a bit of a tough question, I guess. It's a massive step up from what I have been playing, and you've got to look at both the physical and mental side of things. Obviously, being the number one draft pick, it does carry a little bit of expectation and pressure, but as I've said before, you can only go in there trying to fix your 1%, 5%, whatever it may be, and help others do the same. So we'll just see what happens, and I guess speak to the coaches, and I'll make sure I communicate with them as well, and just go from there.
How much emphasis did you put on the national combine? Because you did an amazing beep at 15.1. Your speed was good at 3.04. What work did you put in to that, and how you thought, how that sat in your mind to the influence it may have in going to Carlton?
Yeah, honestly, it was a big end to the year, obviously playing so much football, and the national combine's obviously a very big event, I guess, for the players to showcase their skills and talents and attributes. And I didn't, honestly, I tried not to worry about it too much. I didn't put too much work into it, because at the end of the day, if you train so much, you're probably not going to get an accurate result. So I was coming off, obviously, a season, game fitness is all there, so I just worried about trying to do the best I can and went from there.
Jacob, we appreciate your time. It's a great thrill to be taken at number 1 pick in the draft, but we wish you a very happy, healthy and long career ahead. Good on you.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me.
Jacob Wiedering, the number 1 pick. Now, some very interesting stuff that's happening in round 2 of the draft, Chips, because Josh Dunkley, whose father, Andrew Dunkley, I actually played on many, many years ago for the Sydney Swans, was a potential father-son. He was bid for by the Dogs, and Sydney didn't match it, so he is a Western Bulldog.
He's a Western Bulldog, and I think they've picked up a beauty there. He's a fantastic leader, this young man. He's an inside midfielder that had a few injury worries this year, but then pushed up and played some VFL games with Richmond this year. We love the way he goes about it. It's the intangibles we love about this young fellow. His makeup is that of probably his father, who was such a committed player, a Hall of Famer, of course, up there with the Sydney Swans. But they had a limit on where they could go with him. They just felt that if someone bids in the 20s, we might be able to match that. Of course, they picked up Callum Mills earlier. And then one bid that was matched was for Ben Keys. Ben Keys, another Lions Academy boy that'll end up with the Brisbane Lions after they matched the bid.
Don't forget Channel 503. You can watch each and every selection. We'll, of course, keep you apprised of some of the developments as they happen. But right now we're going to catch up once again with Ben Dixon, who's got a couple of happy twins in Ben and Harry Mackay.
Benny, Harry, it's a big moment and it was an anticipated one. Harry, I was talking to you off camera before Benny got the call up to North Melbourne, but you're both staying in Melbourne. Pretty happy with that?
Yeah, pretty unbelievable feeling, really. I mean, if we had said at the start of the night that both could stay in Melbourne, that would probably be the fairy tale outcome. So I guess that's what's happened, and really grateful for to stay in Melbourne and get an opportunity at 2 great clubs. Yeah, definitely.
And Benny, I'll ask you, as a twin growing up, you get compared to all the time. I mean, I can't tell you the difference, only that one kicks left and one kicks right, but you're going to forge your own careers now. I mean, that must be a special moment, even being a twin.
Yeah, definitely. The last few years we've been known as a twin, so to finally get an opportunity to kind of separate and go different paths was really exciting, and can't wait to get into it.
And you're both obviously big boys. Now, you spend every minute of the day together. What's his worst habit, Harry?
Oh, he's got a few. He likes playing with his hair like that and sticks it up. He also loves shaving his legs. Did it last night, and if you're lucky he's wearing pants tonight, but he's got cuts all over his legs. Unbelievable.
Benny, you got a right to reply?
That's a lot of rubbish, I reckon. Yeah. Harry picks his pimples a fair bit. They're really big, especially on his nose. Yeah, oh, look at your nose right now. Look at your legs right now. Yeah. No,
we're going all night here. This is just going to keep going. But
my nose, this morning in the airport, I get out of the car and I say, "Oh, nice legs, Ben." Comes up and just punches me straight in the nose just for saying that. So that was a nice little wake up, wasn't it?
Brotherly love, eh? Well, enjoy it, boys. North Melbourne, Carlton. It's a fantastic moment for you, and enjoy the journey.
Appreciate it, Dicko. Thank you.
Back to you, Jace.
Oh, boys will be boys.
Yeah.
They just turned on each other, which is what all brothers do. Make no mistake about that.
I wonder if one will write an apology to the other one now, like we see.
I tell you what, once one got a blow in, the other was straight back into him, wasn't he? We speak about some of the players that jumped up into the pecking order. There was a lot of talk about Clayton Oliver, that he might jump up into the top 10. Well, he didn't just jump up into the top 10. Melbourne took him at pick 4.
Yeah, that felt like a bit of a reach, Jason, but this is a young man who is the modern-day midfielder, 188 centimetres, big-body mid who can go forward and kick a goal. A little bit like Cripps from Carlton this year, who had such an impact for them inside the contest, and it's very much in vogue now, that those midfielders who have got a great tank who can slip forward and kick a goal. We know the interchange rotation's coming back next year, so you need players that can play a multitude of positions, and Oliver certainly does that, Shifter.
Oh, he plays with attitude. I love that. He loves to give a bit of niggle, gives and takes it. He loves to compete and get get back in that centre bounce. He'll kick the goal and be the first back in there for that centre bounce and wants to win the ball again, pushing and shoving, and I think that competitive edge, and then the performance on the board, averaged 24 disposals a game, and we talked of his 6-goal performance from the midfield too, which was pretty special. So he rocketed up in those last 10 games, no doubt.
Kieran Collins was the name that you guys had spoken about a little bit, talking about round one. Well, he snuck through to round two, and I think he's just gone to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I was really surprised, Jono, that he wasn't selected in the first round, but quickly the Western Bulldogs have jumped on that and they've selected him with pick 26. That's a real bargain.
Yeah, that's right, and that's a replacement for Dale Morris down the track, you'd think, which is a great selection for the Western Bulldogs. And look, we've mentioned him a lot. Mick Ablett mentioned him at the start of the program as well, and he's a favourite of so many because he's very professional, extremely disciplined in the way that he's gone about his footy. We put the challenge on him, Sando, at the academy, be the best fullback in the country, and he was able to achieve that.
He's a little bit like Brian Lake, and I know that's really quite, puts a bit of pressure on the young man, but he's smaller. He's 193 centimetres, so he's going to play on key position forwards who are much bigger than him, but he's so smart the way that he moves around, uses his body, finds best position. I think that's a draft steal at pick 26 for the Western Bulldogs.
What it does also is it continues this incredibly high rate of key position and tall players going in the first 25 or 30 picks. It's almost unprecedented, the percentage of tall players, of key position players, as opposed to we normally see 8 out of 10 mids. Just about all the quality mids rise to the surface. Well, this has been about the big boys.
Well, I think we're winning the battle for the first choice athletes. The boys that could play anything. They could probably play basketball, maybe aspire to go to the college in the US, or even be the fast bowler in cricket. We're winning them from right round the nation, and it's great to see these results tonight.
But gone from that as well is they have the footy smarts to match now. It's not just the athlete where you've got to teach them over 3 or 4 years to become hopefully a decent player for your club. These guys are athletic because they're big and strong and all those sort of things and the athletic attributes, but they can play the game.
But I think clubs too understand that you draft them when they're young and you be patient with them and you allow them to develop into the players that we're seeing now with guys like Travis Cloke, who Collingwood selected and just took their time and were patient with him. And I think clubs now realise that's what you've got to do.
We didn't see the Dockers in round one, but at pick 27 they've taken Darcy Tucker. Shifter?
Yeah, left footer from the North Ballarat Rebels, a Horsham Saints boy from right up there in the Wimmera. And he was an All-Australian last year, not this year. Still played very, very well in national championships for Vic Country. Uses the ball well on that preferred side. He's a run and carry player that is going to be a great bonus for them over there in the West.
Really smooth mover too, really good decision maker, excellent character as well. Can see him having a really bright AFL future.
Well, the first academy boy that was bid upon was Callum Mills. I think Melbourne went for him at pick 3, but he was quickly snapped up by the Swans, and Ben Dixon's with him now.
Thanks, Jason. Callum, the bidding process is a bit different in the draft this year, a nervous wait. You're an academy boy for 5 years, but you've got your wish going to the Swans.
Yeah, definitely. Love being at the academy. They've been a really good resource for me to develop and grow, not as a footballer but just a person as well, and for them to show faith in me and match the bid is really exciting. I can't wait to get into pre-season.
And this year, 3 games, 40 minutes every game. That's a nice little preparation going into next year.
Yeah, it's probably not ideal, but I guess it's going to give my body a good rake, and it's almost like I didn't play footy this year, so hopefully I'll be fresh and fit and ready to head into pre-season.
And Isaac Heaney, last year everyone talked about the academy and there was much talk and how they're coming through you. You've been in it for 5 years, so it's a huge thing for Sydney Swans to build these kids up in New South Wales.
Yeah, massively. I guess I could pull out the old cliche that I wouldn't be playing AFL football if it wasn't for them, but they're much greater than that. I think I've been able to pull mates in to watch AFL games. I couldn't do that 3 years ago because of them, and now because of them I can. So it's really exciting. It gives kids a hobby to do, and it gives them improvement and a real base for them to grow as footballers. So I can't wait to get into pre-season, as I said before, and it's all exciting for me now, and I just got to soak it in.
And you mentioned the academy and the support. You only played 3 games, so what was the support around you during the year? Because that's frustrating with a guy like you that wants to just get out and play.
Yeah, definitely. I think all the strength and conditioning guys and the coaches that have expertise around that, they've given me programs and stuff that I keep my mind busy rather than wandering around not knowing what I'm doing. So I'm sure if I wasn't in the academy I wouldn't have a good program, I wouldn't be able to keep as fit as what I have, and because of them I'm the player that I've turned out to be. So hopefully I can get stuck into pre-season once again, and I'm just loving it.
Johnny Longmire, he's very serious. He got up, Callum Mills read it all out, and then he gave you a little bit of a joke. Can you tell us what he said to you? Because I tell you what, you burst into laughter.
or maybe if I play a game next year, I'll hopefully tell you. But
I'll savour that moment, Callum. Good luck, well done, and congratulations. You got where you wanted to go in the Swans.
Thanks, Dicko.
Thanks, Dicko. At pick number 6, Aaron Francis went to the Bombers. We heard a little bit of a cheer around here, so obviously a popular selection.
Fantastic story, Aaron Francis. Unfortunately lost his brother this time last year to an illness, but he had a fantastic year, Jason. He played a lot of senior football for West Adelaide in a variety of roles, but I think he's played his best footy across half-back. He's that third tall forward. As you can see in this vision, he just floats across the front of packs with tremendous courage, really hard, courageous player, really good kick and decision maker with the footy. Didn't have a great second half of the season, but his first half was as good as anyone in this year's draft.
Fitting well at the Bombers. He's playing in the right colours, isn't he?
That's right. That's the West Adelaide Bloods.
He's already donned the sash before. But speaking of the tragedy that he went through, his brother's wish was him to play on the MCG and see how he went. He just got through it so well as a young man. Was best on ground, and it just goes to show. And you get the goosebumps now thinking about his performance on the back of the tragedy, just to show that respect to his brother.
Exactly. And just amazing how things can turn out. He's actually barracked for the Bombers all of his life. Not only worn the sash there at West Adelaide, but barracked for the Bombers. He's going to be a great bonus for them. We had him in the top 3 after the National Championships, competing with the Shacky and the Weitering for the first choice. But then that injury and a slowness later in the year with a couple of other issues as well just took him off the radar a little bit. So I think he's a great pick-up at 6.
We're going to have a look at the way that round 2 has panned out. Now, Shifter, you were keen on Luke Partington, who West Coast took at pick 28.
Oh, gee, pretty emotional here because, he lost his father in a mining accident back in February. He's a safety officer at the Roxbury Downs, and his father was tragically killed. And his father was his mentor and his coach and his best mate. And, Luke then played with such passion in national championships. I could almost see him looking up to the sky and saying, well, I'm doing this for you, Dad. Yep. He won all Australian honours. He dominated, which was great to see, and it's wonderful to see him get his opportunity at AFL level.
And we just saw the column on the right as well. Again, it was defender, utility. There's only one midfielder already in the second round there. It just continues, doesn't it?
Yes, and then Alex Morgan, the next choice there. His parents both born in India, Alex Morgan, and so this is a boy that is a gifted player from the Oakley Chargers. Kicks as well on his left as he does on his right. Brilliant blistering speed he's got off half-back or through the midfield, and he's one that we expected to get drafted. He had, again, injuries late in the year that took him off the radar with some of the clubs, and one that played as a 19-year-old in the TAC Cup and for Vic Metro this year.
Jono, Charlie Curnow ended up at the Blues with his brother. Is that good or bad that you go to the club that your brother's at? Would you rather be at a club where you can make your own name, or do you follow on with your brother?
Oh, look, I think he'll make his own name at Carlton anyway. They're different type of player, and look, with what's happened over the last week, he's the type of guy too that will learn from that mistake and certainly try to make the biggest impression, the biggest impact, and earn the respect of his teammates as quick as possible when he puts the colours on for the first time. But look, he can play anywhere on the ground, and I know Michael Turner's a huge fan of his down at the Geelong Falcons, and you can see why, because of his that X factor that he's got to be able to move around the ground. Everyone's sort of saying, like Nat Fyfe, we'll wait and see. If he gets to that sort of level, then they've got a good player.
Jono, I agree. I think he actually might be a midfielder, and he's a massive unit, and he's going to excel in a full-time AFL program. He's still got the puppy fat. He's still got a little bit of the chubs about him, but he'll go to a full-time program. He'll start training on Friday, and you watch in 12 months' time, he'll be a completely different athlete. But he's fit, he's powerful, he's courageous. Really good pick by Carlton.
And Jono, every time we've gone to an interview, you've been whacking me on the hip saying, Bulldogs have done well, Bulldogs have done well. Yes, you're pleased with what they've picked up thus far.
No, they have done well in this draft last year. They went for a smaller type player, where you see that they get Dunkley at 25, who I really rate, and could be a future captain. He's got that. His leadership strength is that strong, and Kieran Collins, we've pumped him up enough over pretty much the last couple of weeks, especially tonight, with the type of quality that they've got into the club.
And the last couple of players taken, Mason Redmond. We say players can come from anywhere. He comes from Millicent in country SA, taken by the Bombers. He's a boy of about the 188 centimetre. Lovely size to play in range of spots from half back to half forward. But I like the class he showed. He kicked 3 goals against Vic Metro when they played against SA, and the Bombers obviously like that. And then Ryan Clark picked up by North Melbourne. He's the running machine. The road runner, you'd call him. Again, a best on the ground over at Domain Stadium for Vic Metro against WA. Really put put him on the radar, and he had a great final series playing for the Eastern Rangers, coached by Darren Buick.
It's frightening the knowledge that you have of every young kid playing the game in Australia. We spoke about the Blues having 4 picks in the top 20, so they get Brenton Bolton, a new coach, trying to rebuild the club with Steve Silvani. They get a great opportunity. Have a look at the 4 selections. That's got to go a long way towards giving you a bit of a framework to work within.
Well, it's interesting, Jason, because they took 3 talls with their first picks, but remember they got the players from GWS, so players like Sumner and Plowman. So they've actually complemented their list reasonably well here. And Cunningham's a great pick too at 23. So Carlton fans, it's not going to happen straight away, but this is a really good young squad that they're building.
And I think that's the message that Brendan Bolton is sending. There's no quick fix. You've got to grow and build with a club. And we've seen a couple of teams do that over the journey. The Hawks probably the most recent one. They were in the same boat back in the end of 2004. And they did have some pain in 2005 and a bit of 2006, but then you started to see the fruits of the labour. If you get the right quality young kids together and you can keep them and then educate them and grow them and develop them, well, that's the way that a club moves up the table.
The best sides in the competition when they're challenging for a top 4 spot or a premiership is they've got 12 to 14 over 2 or 3 drafts. Those players that play 100, 150 games together, even 250 if you're lucky enough, like Hawthorn are, to get that core group together, and that's where Carlton are starting this year. It will take a couple of years, but if they can keep that group for a long period of time, then that's when their rise will start.
Well, Ben Dixon has tracked down another of the early draftees, and it was Darcy Parish.
Darcy, big moment for yourself. Essendon, I mean, you're pretty happy having a chat to your fair, but did you know you were going to Essendon at that time when the name was called out?
Yeah, obviously a dream come true, I guess. Childhood dream has always been to play AFL footy and get my name read out at the Dons. I'm over the moon. But yeah, sort of, I didn't really know up till my name got read out. Sort of, it was up to Melbourne to see if they picked me or whatnot. But I slid through to Bombers and yeah, over the moon to be there. Yeah.
Pretty daunting, isn't it? I mean, we're in a big convention centre here. There's a big crowd behind us. I mean, the coaches get up and speak, and you get up on stage. I mean, it's pretty daunting coming in, but more importantly, when you get called out on the big stage.
Yeah, obviously a huge weight, but yeah, a lot of relief hearing my name being read out, and yeah, huge crowd here, which is good to see, and to see John for the first time, I guess, up on stage is yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, it's unbelievable, and yeah, dream come true. Yeah.
I can see you watching the telly very closely. Your best mate in Reece Matheson. I mean, you guys grew up. He left the school to come to you at 8 to play together, all those sort of things. He hasn't been called out yet. Where do you think he might go? A few clubs have spoken to him.
Yeah, me and Reece have been playing footy together since under 12s, you know, all the rep sides and that sort of thing. I was hoping we picked him up with our last 2 picks, but yeah, I don't know where he's going to go, but yeah, it'd be good to see him go, yeah.
And you had a good championships. I mean, it's a platform for you boys to showcase in front of everyone, but the Geelong Falcons, we talk about how many footballers come through there, but the system itself's been a great support for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, obviously a great system down there, you know, run by Mickey Turner. He's been down there since I met him 15s, I guess. It was pretty scary, daunting man back then, but we've formed a great relationship along the way, and yeah, there's been some absolute superstars come out of the system, so yeah, I owe them a fair bit, and hopefully get back down there and thank them all, so yeah.
Who'd you barrack for as a kid?
I'm a Pies man, so the Anzac Day clash might be a bit interesting now, so but yeah, hopefully we touch them up, yeah.
We'll look forward to that one, Das. Well done, mate.
No, beautiful, Dicko. Thanks for having me.
An exciting youngster for the Essendon Football Club, and they've had a lot of early selections as well, and they need to rebuild that list. I mean, we know all the dramas that have happened off field. They need to get some happy stories happening on field, don't they?
Oh, they do. It starts with John Worsfold. It's a great start. It's a great appointment, and look, he'll be able to develop these young players, you think, very well. They've got a pretty strong coaching staff as well to go with it. And with Parish there, you get the ball on the outside to Parish, it's going to hit up Danaher coming out of full forward. He's going to love the fact to be able to lead to someone like Parish. If he gets the ball across the wing, across the logos at Etihad Stadium, it's going to hit the target every time.
Parish is one of those young players that will come in and have an impact straight away, a little bit like Joel Selwood did at Geelong in 2007. He's ready to play AFL. He runs the right patterns. He plays a good balance of offence and defence. He's good inside the contest, and as most Geelong Falcons players are, he's tough. He broke his thumb in a match earlier this year. I went to shake his hand after the game. He said, my thumb's a bit sore. And we looked back at the vision. He was still tackling, smothering with a busted thumb in a game in the National Academy. So really good pick for the Bombers.
Well, there's the 4 early selections for the Bombers, and they look to have done pretty well.
They've nailed it, Jason. I think those first 2 picks in particular, Parish and Francis, and Morgan and Redmond at 29 and 30, they're really good pick shifter. I think those players will certainly have an impact for the Bombers. So Adrian Dodoro and his team should be congratulated by calling out those names. Now it's up to the development coaches and the players to live up to their end of the bargain.
Yeah, Jace, you like this. I reckon Parrish plays a bit like Shane Crawford. He's just so busy, busy. He's got the ball the whole time. Within 5 minutes of a game start, he's had 3 or 4 times. He just doesn't let you down. So he reads the game brilliantly, doesn't fumble the footy, plays a lot of spots, and a terrific player athletically.
We've seen Brenton Archie with the Port Adelaide Football Club. Well, his brother's about to come into the mix. That's Callum Archie, and Ben Dixon's caught up with him.
Callum, it's a big moment. I know you're relieved. You're still sort of sucking in the breath a little bit. Did you know you were going to the Gold Coast? I mean, Rocket Edie was pretty pumped to get you up on stage.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. So, to put the Guernsey on was amazing, and I can't wait to get over there.
Callum, I want to talk to you about your footy during the year. When you talk about TAC players, they sort of stay in the one state. Tell us about your journey, where you played your footy, because you played nearly every game.
Yeah, pretty much. So I was obviously at South Fremantle Football Club and was lucky enough to play 6 league games over there. I was Kelmscott Junior Football Club, and shout out to them. They've been awesome for me as well. So, yeah, just around that area, and so thankful for the opportunities.
And you've gone from one beach to another, so you just pack the surfboard and away you go. Is that the drill?
Pretty much, but I'm pretty terrible at surfing, so I'm going to have to train.
And I can tell you, you're going to a great club because there's so much upside. I mean, the program now with Rocket, the young players coming through, you're going to get every opportunity to give yourself a chance.
Definitely. The club's on the rise, and can't be thankful enough. And I'm just so happy that I'm on their list, and I can't wait.
You're a good man. You can't get the smile off your face. Go and enjoy it, Callum.
Thanks very much, Dicko.
Dicko's having a lot of fun talking to some of the excited draftees, and why wouldn't they be excited? It's interesting, we're getting to the back end of round 2, the last couple of selections, and you guys have already identified a few players who you thought would have been long gone, and yet they're still here. Yeah, well, it started with Thomas Cole now, just selected at pick 36. He was one that we thought may have gone a little bit early. We're going through Sando's list, but there's quite a few still there, Sando.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tommy Cole, who just got selected by West Coast. That's a great pick. Harley Ballock is still on the board. He's a fantastic big body mid. Reece Matheson, who Darcy Parrish's best mate from Geelong Falcons. We thought he might have been a top 10 talent, Jono, before the show started tonight.
Well, I still think he is. It's just the fact that if a club gets him now in the back half of the draft, it's a great selection then for that football club.
Well, that's the exciting thing,
yeah,
Jono, isn't it? We've got a lot of clubs with back-end picks, Sando, and normally you kind of think they're not going to be, great players. They're going to be speculations at best. Well, there's a lot of quality still to be picked up deep in the draft.
There is, and we hear every year that this might be a shallow draft. Well, there's not. This is not. There's some excellent young talent who are going to help your footy club with late picks in this year's draft.
Hearing a lot of roar in the background, and the reason for that is Port Adelaide entering the draft for the first time. Pick number 37 for Port.
It's been a long wait for Port, and we know they picked up Dixon. That's been a fantastic acquisition for them, coming in as a key position forward. He's going to help them straight away. Obviously not making the 8 last year. They've got a favourable draw. They get a lot of players back from injury. This could be a side that has a big impact next year straight away.
Great to see Jason Cripps there too, around the table.
Yeah, it is. It has been with what happened. And there's Ken Hinkley.
Port Adelaide Football Club picks Riley Bonner, West Adelaide Goodwood Saints.
Well, that's a serious roar, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Taking the local player, the left footer. The Hawks would love this guy. He's a Cade Colin-Jasmine Grant Birchall type of player. Beautiful left footer. And he's a boy that also kicks super on the right foot because he played soccer as a junior, used both feet. All-Australian from national championships during the year, so had a wonderful year.
Very rare for a left footer that kicks it on the right foot.
Yes,
so
it is.
That's a wonderful weapon to have. I think it's an interesting point you make. We talk about picking the local kid because we've seen a number of clubs in recent years just struggle to hold on to some of their young talent because they do get homesick. They want to go back to their state of birth.
Well, Jace, I can imagine Port sitting back in the war room there and just watching the names be ticked over, and they would have been saying, Riley Bonner has not been selected yet. South Australian, 188 centimetre, left and right foot, set-up kick quarterback. That's an absolute steal for the Port Adelaide Football Club at pick 37.
And great to see choice 34, Josh Schoenfeld. He was the star from our draft combine with his 3K. Broke the record, the all-time record, 9 minutes and 15 seconds. It was a pick-me performance. You've got to pick me. Look how I can run.
Club. Harley Ballock, Sandringham Dragons,
Well,
Morty
there you
Alec
go.
Brayside Junior Football Club.
Well, they're starting to come in now, Jason. Harley Ballock's another one that we were just chatting about before. He's He's a lead-up type forward. He can hit the logos consistently for you. He can push through the midfield as well. He's got great flexibility and great courage the way he plays.
Yeah, he's from Sandringham Dragons, had a really good nationals for Vic Metro. He can play midfield, he can drift forward. He's big-bodied, 186 centimetres, good clean hands, courageous young player. Once again, I'm staggered he gets to pick 38.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a fantastic round too as we take a look at the selections here. And again, just not to see mids all the way down the position on the right-hand side is extremely promising, but a lot of quality going deep in the draft, and you know, opinions often vary. They were saying it wasn't a deep draft. Well, it's looking deep-ish, isn't it?
Interesting too, Jason. There hasn't been a ruckman taken yet, and I've got 5 rucks on my draft board here, and still none to be selected, so still some value.
Time for break, plenty still to come from the Adelaide Convention Centre in the beautiful state of South Australia, a place where I know Brad Johnson loves to holiday with his family. Welcome back to the Adelaide Convention Centre. The first 2 rounds of the 2015 NAB AFL Draft have been complete. Callum Mills went at pick 3, one of the Academy boys to the Sydney Swans. Josh Shackey became a Brisbane Lion, and the number 1 pick went to Jacob Wiedering. And you can see a little bit of height difference between him and the new Carlton coach in Brenton Bolton. But I think the message is going to get through. We had a chat to him. He was very, very excited to be going to the Blues, as were his parents. Of course, Channel 503, you can watch every single pick live as it happens. We've got plenty going on right here. We've just heard the recent roars of Port Adelaide weighing into the draft for the first time. Geelong they've still got a long wait, haven't they, before they come into the draft?
Yeah, I think Geelong's first pick's back in the 60s, so they're just patiently waiting. But, I mean, they had that fantastic trade period where they picked up Dangerfield and Henderson, obviously Selwood as well.
Reece Matheson just taken there to choice 39, and he's a boy's a back-to-back All-Australian. So you talk about depth. There's nothing wrong with the depth of this draft. There's a back-to-back performer at the highest level available, which is the National Championships, and still there at 39.
That's extraordinary that Reece Matheson got that deep, because you two had him pegged a lot higher.
He's an inside ball-winning clearance machine, and he's not the most neat kick, but gee, he's that sort of player that I'd love to go to at 3/4 time of a grand final and say, Reece, we need something from you in this last quarter, and you know that he would deliver. So he's one of those fantastic Geelong Falcon products that plays it hard and plays footy the right way.
He's a pretty relaxed sort of kid as well. So look, he'll get in that environment up at Brisbane, and they'll fast track him along.
They're incredibly excited, the draftees, and Ben Dixon has caught up with another.
Matty, big moment. Had to wait a little bit though, because the bid came in, new system. You sat around for a little bit. You were always confident you'll get to the Giants?
Yeah, I was pretty nervous, to be honest, I'm not going to lie, but main thing is I'm on an AFL list, and that's all I've ever wanted to do is play AFL from a young age. So to be all over and done with and know where my home is for the next 2 years, it's great and a bit of a relief.
And you want to play in premierships, but normally you leave that to the AFL level. That's your goal. Yeah. You got 3 older brothers, and you've played in a number of flags. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the last 2 years I've won back-to-back premierships with my 3 older brothers. So obviously to get a few early premierships before an AFL career is obviously exciting and a dream come true as well. So to accomplish that with my brothers has been awesome, and yeah, looking for the next journey in my footy career.
Here's a chance to pump them up. Are they draft prospects by any chance?
They'll tell you that, but no. They're pretty good footy players, but they're sort of just country footballers that just love the farm a bit too much, but I've always had a bit more intention of going it on with a bit further. So.
And Matty, when you walk into an AFL club, if you don't have a nickname, the coach normally stands up and goes bang, but you've already got one, Bam Bam. Who named you Bam Bam?
Yeah, so I got that from a young age, next door neighbours. I was a young kid and I got Bam Bam off the Flintstones, so that's been my name for most of my life.
Don't pick me up and throw me off stage, Matty, but enjoy it. You're going to the Giants. It's a great experience and well done.
Thanks, Dick. I appreciate it, mate.
They're not shy, some of the young kids either. We're hearing some great talkers. They've got good stories to tell. We've already heard a couple of really good nicknames already today, so there's a lot to talk about. But we have just also seen early in the 3rd round the first genuine ruckman get picked up.
Yeah, we saw Matt Flynn get bid on, and he's a GWS Academy player. And I think GWS are going to have actually matched it,
so
which is fantastic for them.
Melbourne put the bid in for him, and now GWS have matched it.
Yeah, so they've matched all the bids, GWS, every bid that's except for Himmelberg. I don't think they matched. Oh, they did. They matched the Himmelberg bid. So all bids tonight that have come in for their academy players they've matched.
And I think the philosophy on ruckman has perhaps changed a little bit in recent years. Unless it's a Nat Nui type who picks himself, I think clubs aren't wasting early picks. They're saying we're talking 3, 4, 5, 6 years of development, so we'll get them, either poach them off another club that's done some development or speculate with them further down in the draft.
Well, Shane Mumford's had a huge say on Flynn, and he plays in some ways a similar sort of way to Mumford. So that's going to happen over the next couple of years again, with Shane Mumford still playing for the Giants.
Yeah, and 2 ruckmen in a row there, with Mitch King being the last one taken. So he's a boy overcome an ACL injury to play some good footy for the Murray Bush Rangers later in the year. A 200 centimetre boy that lightly built, will take a little bit of time, but he's been picked up at 42.
It just shows that Melbourne were desperate for a ruckman because they bid on one, they missed out, so they picked a ruckman with the next pick, didn't they?
Yeah, but the ruckmen do take time, and they will take 3 to 4 years sometimes to really develop and really mature and have an impact for your football club. So you almost put them in the bank. You put them in your NEFL side if you're GWS, and you just be patient with them, and you allow them to grow. So, and that's why we see so many clubs try and poach them from other sides.
Yeah.
They look for that second or third tier ruckman at opposition clubs. But great to see the picks coming in now for the Rucks.
Jacob Hopple was another top 10 selection. He went to the GWS Giants with pick 7, and Diggo's tracked him down.
Jacob, a big moment. You got to the Giants, an academy boy, but you played a lot at the Rebels. Big Pardo's a big fan of yours, I know, down there, Phil Partington. But talk to us about the Giants and obviously the TAC process.
Yeah, so obviously being from Leeton, I'm in the Giants Academy, so that's a pathway that I started with, and then that progressed through to me going down to Ballarat and joining Pardo and the Rebels boys there, and had a really successful kind of TAC Cup 2 seasons really, and really enjoyed my time there.
And I want to talk about Leon Cameron, senior coach. He's always good with his advice. Had a bit of time with Leon. And what's he told you about, obviously, expectations and stuff? Now it's done and dusted. Like, when do you get up there and get your teeth into it?
Yeah, I think I want to get cracking as soon as I possibly can. But I think Leon's just told me to stay calm a bit and just, soak it all up right now, and then just look to get going when I can. But just really enjoy the time, and then just really enjoy the time when I'm hopefully playing.
How do you find the bidding process all a bit different? You would have watched the draft for a number of years. Nerve-wracking, even though you're obviously in high demand?
Yeah, that's probably what I was so nervous about, really, to just see what would kind of happen with the new bidding stuff, and I don't know, all the games you kind of heard that were going on, but I was just going into it just really wanting to have a good night and just celebrate it with my friends and family.
Go and enjoy it, Jakey. You're a beauty, and good luck next year.
Thanks, Dico.
Sando, now as we start to get deeper into the draft, I think we're into the mid-40s now. As a coach sitting at that table, as you did for a few seasons with the Adelaide Crows, the best player doesn't necessarily pick himself per se now, does it? Because we're talking about players that need more development. You're starting to hand-pick holes on your list that you need to basically match up with whatever's left available in the talent pool.
Yeah, exactly right. I think what each club does, Jason, is they do premiership profiling. So they look forward up to 5 years. They look what their squad can potentially look like. So you're identifying players that are coming up for retirement in that next 5-year period, and you're starting to almost do a depth chart of where you see players coming out of the side and players that you're going to need. Now, remembering what was said about ruckman, they take 3 to 4 years. Some of the key position players take 2 to 3 years to really establish themselves. So you've really got to plan a long way out. So deep in the draft, in the 40s and 50s, 60s, you're looking for more needs and potential some sort of diamonds in the rough, players that you think for whatever reasons have had little setbacks through injury, or maybe they're smaller, or maybe there's little deficiencies in their game which you think you might be able to iron out. But that's the real challenge later in the draft is certainly identifying those players.
Is this where you as a coach would jump in a little bit more in terms of the type of player that you may be looking for at this stage? Yeah, you back your recruiters in, of course you do, but early on, the picks, they just come probably naturally. It's a bit tougher in this part of the draft.
Not so much. The coach would really... yes, you'd get asked a lot of questions, but as I said at the top of the show, you've got to put so much trust in your list manager and your national recruiting manager to sort of almost guide you through those decisions. You're actually coaching for right now. You want to win a premiership now. You leave it up to those key personnel to help you plan for the future.
Did you see something that caught your attention there, Shifter? Whenever your eyebrows go, I know something's happening.
Yes, there's a bit again, for this time Corey Wagner, by North Melbourne. He's a Brisbane Lions Academy boy. And I think that North Melbourne's got him. In fact, they haven't matched the bid, and so I think he's heading for North Melbourne. He's a midfielder coached by Adrian Fletcher, blonde-headed boy that played through the midfield or across half-back. Great user of the footy. Great to see him get his opportunity.
Well, we're starting to see a few more speculative picks coming through. There was no speculation at pick number 2. It was Josh Shackey. He was a very, very popular selection for the Brisbane Lions, and Ben Dixon has caught up with him.
Josh, I'm going to take you back the last round. Brisbane, high-scoring game against the Bulldogs. They lose. They get to the second pick, but you always had in your mind you wanted to get the Brisbane Lions. That's come true.
Yeah, that's it. I was definitely watching that match closely, and I'm happy that it's all panned out the way that I wanted it to, and they're given the opportunity to go up to the Brisbane Lions. Yeah, very excited.
And it's great for a young player like yourself to say, I want to get up there and stay there, because the interstate clubs do find it difficult. Players get there for 2 years and want to leave, but you've made your intentions pretty sound.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously, for a club to grow and be successful, you obviously got to have people stay there and stick around the club. And yeah, I definitely will be committed to the Brisbane Lions, and very excited to get up there and meet everyone and get stuck into pre-season.
We're at the Championships game. We watched you. You're kicking them from the pockets. Amazing left foot. Brad Johnson said the best kick he's ever seen. I mean, he got a number of goals in his career. He hogged a lot, but your routine and your accuracy and all that, like, who's worked hard with you on that?
I think just mainly myself. Obviously, previous years I've had a little bit of issues with it, and I wasn't really kicking straight. So I think Matthew Lloyd as well, he's definitely told me that I needed a routine, and I've gone back home and definitely gone through a routine that's comfortable for myself and very simple, not overcomplicating it, and yeah, it's worked out well.
It's always nice. Leopard got up there and read out your name, give you the handshake. What was his words of advice in that short little moment you had up on stage?
It's hard to remember now. I suppose it's everything, just taking everything in, but he said, yeah, best of luck, and just yeah, he was really excited, and I'm excited to go out to dinner with him tonight, and yeah, just really catch up with him. Yeah, it's awesome.
Dinner tonight? Well, it's Leopard shout, so order the lobster.
Yeah, I'll see what I have to see what's there. Most expensive thing, mate, but I don't know.
Go and enjoy it, Josh. Well done, mate.
All right, thanks, Dicko.
He's getting plenty out of him, Dicko. Now, Sando, you had a bit to do with Josh Shackey. I just love seeing young players get to the club that they actually want to go to. It must be so exciting.
There's a fair bit of romance in that story. Isn't he a likeable young man? Yeah. And he's pretty laid back. He's from the Murray Bushrangers. So why does he want to play for the Brisbane Lions? Well, his father played for the Brisbane Bears, and unfortunately his father passed away when Josh was very young, and I know one of his football dreams was to slip on the jumper or the Guernsey that his father wore. So it's great for the Brisbane Lions to see a young man that wants to come to your footy club, add Ben Keys and Eric Hipwood to those names that were called out tonight, and it's going to take some time, but Brisbane Lions will be back.
You remember what number the old man wore?
Can't remember, no.
I'll tell you what, if someone's in it, I reckon they'd be giving it up really quickly.
Right.
You couldn't stand in the middle of that story, could you?
Right.
Not at all, Jason.
Now, you've seen Blake Hardwick get chosen by the Hawks shifter, and you're keen on him.
Oh, I love what he's done this year and even last year. He's a goal kicker, Jace. You'll love that. He's only 181 centimetres, so he's a medium forward, but he's a jack in the box, great hands. He's the boy that's kicked a 12, a 10 and an 8 this year. 56 goals for the 29 behinds, a great kick at goal. So he's got a few special things about him.
Well, there's the 3 selections thus far for the Hawthorn Football Club. It seems strange to say a team that's won the last 3 flags needs more talent in there. But when you've got an experienced ageing list that they are going to transition out, and they already have moved a couple on, you've got to have that bottom talent coming in at the bottom end, haven't you?
Well, that's right, and that's where they've got a good bit of flexibility there with Burton, who's a bit taller. Lovells, your smaller midfield, maybe a Mitchell type in the future if he can get his kicking to that sort of level on both sides, and then Hardwick, who's just going to be a hard nut forward, who's a good leader.
Yeah, that's right. Remember they lost Suckling, so Suckling scored in the trade period, plus Mitchell, Hodge and Lewis aren't getting any younger. Yes, they're 4-time premiership players, but they're planning really well, and they're 3 really smart decisions there by Graham Wright and the Hawthorn Football Club.
There was a big roar just moments ago when Port Adelaide picked up Aidan Johnson. He's a boy from Victoria, country Victoria, an explosive player, an Indigenous boy. He's at Scotch College, and he was just injured a fair bit this year. Got himself right late in the year and presented really, really well at the draft combine. So big roar from the locals here to see Aidan Johnson.
What he has got, Shifter, is speed, and that's what every club is craving. They're looking for outside speed, particularly in the modern game. There's a lot of congestion, players that can get outside the contest, and Aidan Johnson can give that to Port Adelaide.
He went back with the flight at the MCG, Jace. Tremendous courage. Got hit that hard, straight back up.
Oh, you love seeing that. Yeah. One of the boulders early on this year in the draft was Clayton Oliver. There was talk he might jump into the top 10. We spoke earlier. He jumped up to pick number 4. Let's find out a little bit more about Clayton Oliver because he's with Ben Dixon.
Clayton Oliver, the bolter. Now, last year it was Nakai Cockatoo. and you've just come from the clouds you have. I mean, tell us about your year itself, because Kevin Sheahan, who knows every kid inside out, said he came from nowhere.
Yeah, I started off the pre-season at Murray. I had a bit of osteoarthritis pubis, so I didn't do the pre-season. I missed about 2 months of that, and I sort of came back for one of the practice matches, and Darren Oge was probably put a little bit of faith in me. I was pretty lucky to play round one, and sort of just started from there. I started getting a little bit fitter, started playing a little bit of footy, and then I was lucky enough to do the VFL experience, and that sort of helped me grow as a player and as a person. My leadership qualities grew as well, and just probably from there just really skyrocketed, which was pleasing.
Nice and early in the draft, Melbourne. You're pretty pumped about that. Roosie looked pretty pumped.
Yeah, no, I can't believe. I didn't think I was going to be that high. I was maybe 20 or so, but yeah, it's just unreal.
Pretty daunting, isn't it? Because not many people had you in the top 10, as you said, your year, and then pick 4? So it was like a bit of a shock to yourself. On the camera, you were looking at it going, is this really real?
Yeah, I couldn't believe when he read up my name. I was like, that's not me, sure. I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, my heart was racing. I think I was about to pass out, I reckon. Oh, it's crazy.
Who did you grow up barracking for as a kid?
I barracked for the Brisbane Lions. Probably just sort of jumped on the bandwagon when they were winning all the games, and sort of been on ever since.
How many clubs spoke to you?
I think about 16. Oh, no, I had all 18 actually.
18 clubs spoke to you?
Yeah. I had just 2 of them didn't talk to me at Combine, that was it.
You're a wanted man.
Oh, I wouldn't say.
Well, you're sold now. You're sold to Melbourne. Good luck. I wish you all the best for next year, Clayton.
Thanks for that. Thank you very much.
Talk about getting a buzz. He thought he was going to go about pick 20. And he got taken at pick 4. What a thrill that is. But let's face it is time for Melbourne to get on the move. For too long, they've had too many good picks. They have to start getting the right picks, getting this group together and moving in an upward direction.
Well, it started the last couple of years with Jack Viney getting in there. Tumpus has moved on, but last year with Brayshaw, those guys, Petraka still to Hogan. Come in. He's a new recruit in himself. Hogan, what he was able to produce last year, and now what they've got with Oliver, Wiedemann, King and Hewlett as well as the last one at pick 46.
It's interesting to see Wiedemann. Now, Wiedemann's the one that hasn't played much footy in the last 2 to 3 seasons. He's had some injury setbacks. He could be the best player in the draft. Only because when we've seen him play, Jono, he's been unbelievable. But then he just has setback after setback with some minor injury concerns. But that could be the steal at pick 9 for Melbourne.
Isn't it interesting, though, how we've seen in years gone by, clubs look at a player and if there's an injury scare, we saw it with Joel Selwood.
Yep.
I mean, how did he get down to where he did? And then everyone's kicking themselves saying, how does he go that low? Because they had issues about his knees.
Well, I was actually working for Geelong, Jason, at that draft, and the rumours were he had a hole in the ligament in his knee the size of a 10-cent piece. So he drifts out to pick 7, and Geelong pick him up. It was amazing.
Now, Jace, we've got a bid in for Bailey Rice. So this is the son of Dean Rice, who's nominated St Kilda as his father-son club. If they choose not to match the bid, even Carlton can have
They
a
can
crack.
then match it, can't
Yep, they can. And I think it's the Tigers that might have put in the bid.
Yep.
It is, so this will be interesting. There's the Saints with their heads down, doing a little bit of homework. And
they've got to match it at this stage. You're not giving up much at this stage once you get to this point of the draft to actually get him.
Pick 49, St Kilda. Bailey Rice, father-son nominee, Dandenong Stingrays, Endeavour Hills Junior Football Club.
I think you're right, Shifter. At pick 49, you virtually have to match it unless you think someone's got through that just shouldn't be there. And it's unlikely by the time you get down to pick 49, isn't it?
I think he's great value at 49. Of course, Dean played 100 games at each of Carlton and St Kilda after trying out down at Geelong. Didn't make the grade there at Geelong and slipped in and played 200-odd matches at AFL level. I love the way Bailey breaks the lines, a really strong-bodied boy that can really just slip through and uses the ball beautifully. His kicking's very elite from down in the back half, can also play through the midfield.
Well, we have Jason, though, too. He actually barracks for Carlton, but nominated St Kilda to be father-son.
Extraordinary, isn't it? You just a moment ago told us that Sam Wiedemann may be the best player to come out of the draft.
He had a half of football, Jono, at the MCG against the Northern Blues. So Carlton's reserve side of the MCG, he took 12 contested marks in the first half. He was insane. But we only saw him in fits and spurts this year. He played, I guess, patches of 4 or 5 games, then he'd be hurt. Then he had a stress fracture in his ankle. So he could be one of the real steals in this draft. And I know every club absolutely loves him. We can see him in action here. He just marks the footy. You can see he looks a little bit like Pavlich from Fremantle. The way that he moves up forward, fantastic courage. He'll learn to use his body a bit better in contest, but here's this game at the MCG. He just kept taking mark after mark, and really smart pick, I think, by Melbourne. I know there's going to be some risk attached because he's had some injury setbacks, but he could be the steal in the draft, even though it is pick 9.
12 marks in the first half. That's extraordinary. Massive raps. Pick number 9, he went to the Ds. Ben Dixon's with him.
Sam, I'm going to ask you firstly, were you a bit surprised that Melbourne called your name out? How many clubs spoke to you?
There was quite a few, but I was absolutely stoked to be called up by Melbourne. It was just such an amazing feeling. Like, you're never certain on this night, and it was just unreal.
I mean, it's a key position draft in a way. I mean, I think it was 4 or 5 in the top 10. I mean, it's one of those years where all the forwards and backs at the 190, 195 are sort of coming through. So you're one of them, key position. Where do you think you best play your footy?
I think I played my best footy up forward. I've played a lot, especially later in my sort of bottom age and top age year. I've played a lot forward. So I'm hoping to develop my game there and learn off players like Jesse Hogan now and the Demons, and it'll be amazing.
And your father, Mark, just shy of the father-son at Collingwood, only the 28 games, but your grandfather, Murray, I mean, a legend of Collingwood. Does he get on the phone and give you some advice on your game?
Yeah, he does. He lives over here in Adelaide, so he tries to get on the phone as much as he can and teaches me so much new advice, and it's unreal to have him around.
Does he pull the black and white out and the black and white telly, because it was back in the 50s?
Yeah, he does sometimes. He shows me a bit of footage of him back in his heyday, so it's great to watch.
Well, you got your club, Melbourne. Go and enjoy it. It's a great night for you here and your family, so well done again.
Thanks, Hugo. Appreciate it, mate.
All right, a couple of selections we need to talk about. Oleg Markov. What just happened there?
Well, he's just chosen, of course, the son of Dmitry Markov, who was the world champion pole vaulter, remember, from Belarus back in about 2002, and he'll be the only fluent-speaking Russian in the AFL. And a wonderful athlete, had some fantastic games this year for SA at under 18 level, playing as a 19-year-old. It was a draft combine last year and just had injuries, so it wasn't quite ready, but he's really improved, and I think he's a wonderful pickup.
An Adelaide boy taken by the Tigers. And Jono, you got a lift out of seeing Sam Skinner at pick number 47 go to the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, he's a competitor. He's a big fella. He might hold out centre half back for you, or full back if you go that. He may be able to pinch hit in the ruck as well.
You've had some involvement with
sort
him?
of Jared Ruffhead sort of style with his pace and be able to get out, but he's still got a lot to learn in terms of footy smarts. But we went to the IMG Academy last year over in the States, and Tom Hawkins was over there. Gatorade took him and Joel Selwood and a couple of Sydney players over there, and all he wanted to do in our footy session was compete against Tommy Hawkins. And he actually held his own a little bit. Himself and Kieran Collins. Tommy Hawkins was magnificent with the young fellas and taught them a lot about where he wanted to play, where he didn't like defenders to stand and all that sort of stuff. But all he wanted to do was compete and try and fight the fight against the bigger body in a Tommy Hawkins.
I think, Jono, he's 197 centimetres. I think he's too small for a modern-day ruckman, and that's where he's played most of his junior football. And I just don't think he's quite got the agility to play as a forward. But I can see him being a real steal as a centre-half back for the Brisbane Lions. That's where I see him finding his way in the AFL system.
Might have to get Tom Hawkins kicked out of the forwards fraternity if he's giving away trade secrets, telling potential young defenders where he doesn't like defenders playing.
Type of player that he is, just loves giving back to these young fellas and try and get them into the system and have an impact from day one.
It must be satisfying, in particular you as head coach of the academy, and I know you've done a lot of academy work over the years as well, John. It must be extremely satisfying to see the work that the young kids have done, and it pays off to see them go to AFL clubs.
Yeah, I must admit, Chase, I feel like a bit of a proud dad tonight. The way that, when you hear these young men's names get called out, and they're realising their boyhood dreams. I mean, this is what a lot of them, that's all they've ever dreamt of. One day slipping on an AFL jumper and representing their club, and it's just fantastic. But a lot of that is back what they do at their state academies and also their local clubs. We can't forget them. We talk about the National Academy, but the TAC Cup run a great program there in Victoria. The SANFL, the Waffle, also the academies up north. There's some really strong underage competitions being run and some great people who should also be really proud tonight, who have helped these young men realise their dreams.
All right, we have a bid here for a father-son, Jack Silvani. So this will be an interesting one. Gold Coast In fact, it's the Essendon Football Club that has put the bid in. This will test Sauce, won't it?
Oh, gee, take about 10 seconds to do this one. He's going to be a player, this boy. December birth, so he's still 17 years of age, but he showed his hand when he kicked 6 for Vic Metro against WA, and then had the shoulder injury late in the year. They put him out in the paddock, out to pasture, fixed the shoulder up, and look, he's got a lot of Stephen Silvani in him, the way he can mark the ball good below the knees.
Pick 53, Carlton Football Club, Jack Silvani, father-son, Oakley Chargers, Xavier College.
Yeah,
I don't think
Mark Jace
I don't
against
think
Wiedering and Collins as well in the championships, and that's what made me stand back and go, Jack Silvani, there's just something there.
I don't think his beautiful wife Jo would have let him back in the house if he didn't actually match the bid and say, you're coming to go.
What about the grin, though, from Adrian Fedora from Essendon? When he put the bid in, you could see him just that wry smile across the face. Fantastic.
But because of that father-son bid being matched, it means there is one more selection in the third round of the draft. So we'll get to pick 54. We'll round out the first three. Oh, it looks like a second
Pick
chance
54, Essendon Football Club, Mitch Brown, Sandringham, Old Mentonians.
Now, this is interesting because he came into the system as a top-up player, didn't he?
right,
And
he
played
did.
a lot of really good games. And there was a lot of talk that he's actually playing well enough to be back on an AFL list. Well, he gets a chance, and that's fantastic for Mitch Brown.
Yeah, went back to Sandringham Zebras in the VFL as a 25-year-old. Had a great year, great final series. He actually played as a swingman, started defence, kicked 5 goals, then 4 goals in 2 big finals. So Mitch Brown deserves the chance to play again. He had a couple of probably 20-odd games at Geelong and showed some potential, but couldn't really hold a spot there. But at 25, he might be about to make his mark at AFL level.
And if memory serves, that's the first of the experienced players really that's bobbed up in the draft, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and he played in that period as a defender for the Bombers when he was helping them out. So maybe a spot straight up there next to Hurley would be nice.
Now, when you do go on holidays with the troop, the travelling troop, and you hitch up the wagon, you head over to South Australia.
Yeah, all the time. Love it. Get in the car, fly over here with Qantas. We loved it.
There is a lot of beautiful scenery. I know you love it over here in South Australia. We'll be back at the Adelaide Convention Centre on the other side of the break.
Are you?
Welcome back to the NAB AFL Draft of 2015. So much joy, happiness, the emotions spilling over, even at times the odd tear as a son departs the nest. But just great scenes to see all these young players getting a chance at AFL level to follow their dream. Each and every one of them has been a great story. We're 3 rounds in, so rounds 4 to 7 to come to complete the AFL draft. And now we're very much getting speculative. So we'll see a few risks taken and specific types taken here with an eye to development, I suspect.
Yeah, I think so, Jason. I think now clubs will really nail down on what exactly they need. And yes, there's going to be some speculative picks, but I can still see some talent. We've seen only 2 ruckmen taken in the draft so far. I've got a couple of excellent players in James Parsons, Stevie Tahana, Matt Allen, Will Snelling are still available on the draft board. So there's still plenty of talent for clubs to try and pinch here. One
of the things that's genuinely impressed me every time we hear from one of the draftees is how well they speak. They're also well spoken, they're mature, they seem to know all the right things to say. Let's catch up with another one. Aaron Francis went to the Bombers at pick number 6. Here's Ben Dixon.
Aaron, when your name gets called out, it's a shock, but when you're going into it, sometimes the club gives you a little bit of an inkling saying, we're going to take you with this pick. Tell us what Essendon said to you before tonight.
Well, they didn't say much as taking me at pick 6, so I was probably pretty nervous heading into that pick. Obviously wanted to go there because I supported them as a kid, so they didn't really give me much. All I knew was that they were interested.
It's a big year ahead. Now that the draft's done, you'll get into your pre-season, but this year it's a big demand for a young boy, isn't it? Because you come in, you play your championships, you're an All-Australian, you've got the academy commitments, your footy. I mean, is it hard to handle as an 18-year-old?
Yeah, definitely when you're thrown in school when year 12 studies, it's pretty hard to handle, but I guess you've got to do that to be an AFL player or get drafted at least. So yeah, I definitely learnt a lot being in all these different academies and different teams and that kind of stuff, and the AFL academy helped me out a fair bit.
And John Worsfold, he would have had a little bit of a word to you. What did the great Woosher say in words of advice and wisdom?
He hadn't given me any advice yet. He said, just take your outcomes and enjoy the night, spend it with your family.
Well, that's the thing. You've done a few interviews. You look a bit tired. I'm going to let you go because it's been a big moment for you. But enjoy your journey at Essendon and well done tonight.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Another young player that gets to the club that he barracked for as a kid, as did Brad Johnson. It's one thing to barrack for a club, but to go on and be one of the greatest players that's ever played at that club that you barracked for, Jono, what a thrill it must have been for you.
I do. I was able to stay at home, and it was 20 minutes down the road, Joe's not move the other side of the country like Aaron Francis has to.
This young man looks a quality player, though. Very big raps on him, Sando.
Yeah, he's a classic utility. He can play a variety of roles, so he can drift across half-back, be that third tall defender. He can pinch hit in the midfield, and I've also seen him play games for South Australia in the State Academy, and also West Adelaide, where he's gone forward and kicked goals. He's a competitor. He's tough. I love the way he goes about it.
He comes from Loxton North, so another boy that's already made one shift in his life to coming into West Adelaide to play, and now the shift across to Essendon, he'll take it in his stride, I'm sure.
That's about the 43rd town you've mentioned today that I've never heard of before, Shifter.
We love our country areas, don't we? Footy's played in the bush. It's right round Australia now. Great to see people developing that passion for the game in country areas.
I think that's the interesting thing is the net is cast so far and wide now. For the first time, I think clubs have got it right as to how much you need to invest resources, money, a lot in recruiting, because that is where you get the lifeblood of the club.
Well, the spend now is 18 million across the 18 clubs. It's $1 million each. We spend about 12 million on our program, so they spend more money looking at the program than in the program right at the minute.
How many recruiters at each club?
Well, they'd have a dozen or more now. 3 or 4 might be full-time, but the others invest all of their weekends looking at every level of footy, from the senior state leagues to the reserve or development league level to the under-18s. They'll watch nationals. They'll look all around Australia for the next superstar that might be hidden under a rock somewhere.
And that must be the difficult thing, is when some of these recruiters come to the meetings where they would have monthly updates or whatever it is, and they say, look, I've found one, but he's playing in this low league. How do you weigh up someone that's tearing a competition like that apart, as opposed to whether they're going to step up not just 1 or 2 levels, but maybe 3, 4, 5?
And that's the great thing about playing football here in South Australia or in Western Australia, even up in the NEFL competition, is you see these players play against men. You actually see them play some senior football, which is one disadvantage that they have in Victoria, is the TAC Cup program is limited to the under-18s. But you're right, Jason, it's great for a recruiter to confidently go into those meetings and say, I've seen this player excel against men, and I can, they often commit to saying that he's a ready-made AFL player.
That was an interesting thing, because when Buddy Franklin was drafted in 2000, he hadn't played against men. I mean, he had some serious X factor about him, and they thought he could be anything, but that was the one thing. He dominated against his own age group, but he actually hadn't played against the men.
And that's the thing too, also too, Jason, you mentioned about the knowledge of the recruiters, and you mentioned about Shifter, how well he knows these boys. These guys see up to 100 games of footy throughout a year. They might watch 4 or 5 games over a weekend. They'll go and watch a half of one game, then they'll quickly get in their car and sprint to the next game. And they just might see 1 or 2 things. And I've sat next to Shifter, and there's just 1 or 2 little moments in a game when he said, that kid's an AFL player. And it's just those, I guess, that talent that those recruiters have, and obviously Shifter's had it for over 30 years of IDing talent that these players are gifted with.
Well, Chris Judd hadn't played against the men as they picked him up at choice 3 to the West Coast Eagles in 2001. So they gave him a run in the waffle to play against the men. Well, I think he's best on the ground in that. The coach there at waffle level said, I don't think we're going to see this boy again, because he was in the votes the next week for the West Coast Eagles at AFL level.
It must
a superstar.
The life of a recruiter would be a fascinating study, because they travel so much, a lot of it on their own, and they're just making notes and they're looking at things, and then every now and then, as you mentioned, Sando, they see something where they go, wow.
Yep.
And then they're hoping, I hope nobody else saw that.
Yes.
And make a little note, I found one here, and then you're sweating on it, hoping that you see it once or twice more from that kid, thinking, I've unearthed the beauty.
And that's why more money has been put into it to, I think, take the load off the senior recruiter, because not one person just can't do what is expected these days. And I think that's why now they've spread the load a little bit more to make life a little bit easier, because back in the day it would have been a lot of travelling for 1 or 2 people, and they would have burnt out fairly quickly.
And they certainly pile through hours and hours and hours of vision as well. So just like at an AFL club with the assistant coaches and the senior coach preparing for an opposition, these recruiters will go watch 4 or 5 matches over the weekend, then go back and watch those games back. Behind the goals vision where they can, but also too, just to make sure, like you said, Jason, they haven't just missed something that has just caught their eye.
And then there's the old story shifter of recruiters and clubs saying to players, just play dead or go on a holiday or I want you to rest your leg, you might have to miss this game, and just to try to put them sort of under wraps so that nobody else does see them.
Yeah, John Beveridge tells the story of St Kilda not having the resources, so he used to ring up the ex-players that lived in WA to see what they thought about who they might recruit back in the early days of the draft. But love the professionalism of it these days.
That's your country kid that no one's seen. You might just have the quiet word. You'd have the quiet words, wouldn't you?
Hey, let's get back on track here. We spoke about X Factor and the possibility of Daniel Rioli being that type of player. Well, he went at pick number 15 to the Richmond Football Club, and Ben Dixon has tracked him down.
Thanks, Jason. Daniel, I mean, a big moment for yourself to go to Richmond. The Rioli name synonymous with Richmond, but it's a big night for you.
I know, it's something special, I guess. I mean, it's a family club. So I had Morris' grandfather played there, and it's a special night for me and my family, friends and family. So, and I just can't wait to get out there and see all the boys and get straight into it.
You normally ask young players who they idolise their game on. Lucky enough, you got an uncle who goes okay in Cyril. He's won the 4 premierships. He's going pretty well. You play a very similar game, don't you? Model yourself on him?
Yeah, a little. So model my game on him, and pretty much play same role, I guess. And and I just can't wait to get stuck into it. And so I can't wait to get into it.
And the draft combine at Etihad Stadium is a pretty daunting task because they've got all the recruiters there. You've got to do the sprint, the agility, vertical jump. But the 30-metre repeat speed, I mean, it's the lactic test in a way, but you were the best performer. That's not a bad result.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. I mean, leading up to the draft, I did a lot of fitness work. The Rebels gave me a fitness program I had to do, and leading up to that, I did a lot of that. And then his dad take me out for a little stroll in the bush, did some 5K, and that helped me a lot leading up to the draft. And then so got into it, and I was pretty stoked, to be the best performer out there, and it helped me a lot. So.
And Damien Hardwick, he loves his small forwards, electrifying, a lot of pressure, and that. Has he had a little bit of a word to you now that it's done and dusted? You going to the Tigers?
Yeah, he just told me, can't wait to get into it, and hopefully play round one. Just got to work hard for it, but like I said, can't wait to work hard on the track and play some good footy and meet all the boys.
You're going to enjoy it, Daniel. It's a big moment for yourself, but well done. You're at the Tigers now, and good luck next year.
Yes, thank you.
The famous Rioli name. Won't Tigers fans be looking forward to that? And I think the perfect type of player for the Tigers. They need that electrifying, goal-kicking live wire, don't they?
Oh, it's exciting. It really is. When he's at the feet of Jack Riewoldt and he's snapping around, he's putting good forward pressure on as well. It really is exciting times for the Tigers.
We did mention at the top of the broadcast we thought Richmond might go with some outside speed, and that's certainly what they've done. They'd be absolutely rapt that Rioli's coming to Richmond.
Well, if you've just happened to tune in, we're going to take you back and just recap the first round of the draft. Have a look at the way that it all unfolded. No surprises with Jacob Wiedering and Josh Shackey going at the top 2 picks, but just look at the number of forwards and key position types. When you look at that right-hand column there, instead of it all just saying mid, the big blokes have come to the fore, haven't they? Clayton Oliver, probably the bolter in the top 10.
That's exciting. It really is. Callum Mills, the academy prospect from Sydney, goes straight to the Sydney Swans, and then Essendon with a couple of handy types as well, with Darcy Parish, a bit of good outside work, loves getting in the contest as well. Aaron Francis adds some flexibility playing back and forward.
And Harry Mackay, the first of the twins that were both picked up, he went at number 10.
And an All-Australian. 7 of those 10 were All-Australians. I love performance on the board. Call it production rather than potential. They've delivered at the highest level available, those 7 boys.
Again, extraordinary when you look at that right-hand column, the so few midfielders.
Yeah, we had 5 go in the top 10, Jason, and it just kept coming after the top 10 and late into the first round. We just saw clubs keep cherry picking key position players because they're just so hard to find. But what's fantastic for New South Wales, Shifter, I counted 4 New South Wales players there in the top 15, which is fantastic effort for that.
That's an amazing effort by them, and the number of boys from Queensland too, pretty impressive. I just want to mention Sheahan, a 25-year-old from Subic, Indigenous boy that's a star at senior level in the waffle, getting his chance, his first chance. He's from the Yarran clan, of course. Yep. But you'd probably think at 25, 26 years of age, your time might have passed you by. But he was along at our state combine over there, still giving himself a chance, talking up his ankle injury to say it's nearly right again. He couldn't test, but he was desperate to get a go, and great to see Sheahan get that chance.
Well, we mentioned off the top of the coverage that it's a nerve-wracking night, not just for the players that are waiting or hoping to get drafted, but also the families and friends that will be filling the lounge rooms right around the country. We spoke about young Brandon White. He and his family down at Berwick eagerly watching the draft tonight. He ended up going at pick number 40 to St Kilda, and this is the way it played out for the White clan.
Pick 40, St Kilda Football Club. Brandon White.
How good is that? That is just unbridled joy and enthusiasm.
Look, he's tearing up
and he
too.
has teared up.
Look at him. That's great, isn't it? It's just down the road. It just works out perfectly.
And see the Brisbane Lions jumper in the background there on the wall. I think that'll come down by tomorrow. He's going to be a saint for life.
So that sat there on the edge of their seat for 40 selection. I'm sure they probably didn't think he was going in the top 10. Then you start hoping, and then you start, once it gets to a certain number, you start worrying.
That's right, and particularly when your mum's there rubbing your back saying, it's going to be okay, someone's going to call your name soon, but fantastic emotion. I got a little tear in my eye when I saw that. And that would have been replicated across the country tonight.
Yep,
no 63 players
right.
selected so far. Fantastic for our game.
All right, round 4 of this year's draft has just completed, and this is the way that it played out.
Yeah, you look across there, a lot of clubs are starting to pass as well, Jason. So that's just the nature of where it gets to and where clubs are at with their list and all those things, what they're looking to do. But you can see through there, and look, you mentioned Yarran, the 26-year-old shifter.
Yeah, terrific to see. Good to see Tom Phillips get a go. He's a 19-year-old youngster that had a brilliant year with the Oakley Chargers. So improved on last year. He dominated through the final series. A left footer, prolific ball winner across half-back or through the midfield. And Matthew Allen, another left footer that played as a lead-up forward for SA at national championship level. And again, a boy that had to make a choice. He's a talented cricketer, been offered the cricket opportunities. In the finish, he wanted to invest his efforts into trying to be a professional AFL player, and Matthew Allen gets that chance.
Well, let's have a look at the Collingwood Football Club now. This is a club that did an awful lot in terms of trade week. They were very, very active in terms of getting players from other clubs, and they recruited a number of good names. But let's see what sort of players they've picked up here at the draft. What can you tell me about these 3 youngsters?
Yeah, young Cedar is one that, he is a bit of a smoky, I'd suggest, to go that early. He's a boy from Marsland College that plays at the Northern Knights. Lovely size boy. He was the best player at school level, certainly for Marsland. They won the championship at that level, and a boy that they saw a lot of potential in. We mentioned Phillips just then as the left-footed 19-year-old that had a great year. And then Wills again. Look, the team only needs to probably see that 1 or 2 games that's pretty special to be able to take a player. So he's one that wasn't tested even in amongst the 200. So great to see boys get up that would be way back there amongst the 1,500 nominated, but someone at Collingwood has seen enough in him to give him that chance.
Of course, I've already picked up Treloar and also Aish, who are virtually like, high draft picks anyway that are good and ready to go. I mean, Treloar could be an absolute star.
Oh, well, he already is a star. He racks up 30 plus on a regular basis already in the competition. And one player that's just been selected by Eston is Yeston Eads at pick number 64, moved over from Western Australia, went to Ballarat, went to St Pat's, part of the program there, was able to get things together for himself, part of the AFL Academy, and it's a great selection, and it's a great effort from Yeston Eads to be able to be picked up.
Absolutely wonderful for this young Indigenous boy. He come from a troubled background, to be honest, and he just needed a change in probably lifestyle. He went to St Pat's at Ballarat into an Indigenous program there, and the change in this young man has been dramatic in 12 months. Fantastic story to see him get his chance. The changes in his life have been dramatic, and he's a real role model for Indigenous boys. The way he played, he pushed up and played 1 game at VFL level and got in the Liston votes. He's got some special ability with his slip, his ability to get through space with that sidestep, and he's got the high ball drop. He's quite a spectacular player, and well done to Yeston Eads for really making a difference in the way he set his life up.
Great story. I'll ask you a very simple question. Shifter, you know everything there is about these kids. How many players with the first name Yeston have ever played AFL football?
He's the first.
I had a feeling he might be the first.
In 2,289 that have been taken in the 30
there
years.
you go.
That was the number I had to throw in. It's probably 60 odd tonight. Yeah, first one.
An unusual name and a fantastic story.
Good to see Ben Crocker get picked up too.
You like him, don't you?
That's a bit of a steal at pick 65 for Collingwood. He's a midfielder, but I've seen him play his best footy as a marking forward, as strange as that sounds. He's that difficult matchup for the opposition because he's got great hands. Pick 65 is a really good pickup by Collingwood there.
And then Sam Menegola, who had some time as a rookie at Hawthorn, then at Freo, and then come back this year to have a brilliant senior year. Averaged 27 disposals as a midfielder, elite endurance. He tested the house down with our draft combine in WA, and he'll get his third chance. But I think he's more ready now at his age, in his 20s.
And then every now and then we see these great stories of persistence, don't we, when players just refuse to give up. Well, let's go back and recap round 2. And just cast our minds back to these are picks that you have to hit the target with as well. I mean, you cannot waste picks in the 20s and in particular up to about pick 40 because you just don't get that many good picks as a club these days.
One of the ones that stands out for me there, Jason, is pick 33, Mitchell Hibberd from Clarence in Tasmania. He's had some injury setbacks through shoulder and knee problems the last 2 years. He's a 19-year-old. I actually predicted to go in the top 15. I think he's that good. He's going to come in and have an impact for North Melbourne straight away next year as a wingman, half-back, half-forward. He's 192 centimetres. Fantastic pickup for North Melbourne.
And there were some players through this section that we actually rated probably a little bit higher.
Exactly.
So we're discussing that. So therefore some clubs have picked up some players that we thought possibly could have gone between 10 and 20, have pushed out to the 30s. Harley Ballock being one there at 38.
Yeah, he's a fantastic pickup for Fremantle. He's going to complement their already big body mids, and I liked Riley Bonner, that pickup for Port Adelaide late in the 30s. That's a real steal for them.
The latest player picked up Nathan Broad as another 22-year-old that matured in the waffle at senior level this year, and he had this pick-me moment at our state combine again. He tested the best of all of the players in the repeat sprints. He looks so fit and well and ready. He just matured this year, started to really win the ball and rebound off half-back. He can play lockdown roles as well, so he's ready to play next year.
That's a real win, isn't it, Jason? Because the draft day isn't for everybody, and it does take some players time to be able to develop into their bodies, develop their game, and all these sort of things, and the opportunities still come.
Couldn't agree more. You mentioned Shane Yarran before, the good story that he is. The Fremantle Dockers is an interesting list as well. They're going to have to transition some players at some stage. We know that Matty Palic has decided to go on once again, but there's the 4 players up to this point in time that the Fremantle Dockers have drafted.
I think they'll be pretty happy with Tucker and Ballock to get him at that level. Tucker, an All-Australian from last year, to go at 27, and Ballock, a star this year in the midfield for Vic Metro. They'd be wrapped in those. Some people might have had him in the top 20 without a doubt in the world, and that's why it was considered a very even draft across the clubs, but certainly some talent there.
A lot of discussions about Lockie Weller as well, and he's signed an extended deal, so another young player they picked up last year. Was a crowd favourite when he debuted. He's a good-looking young man, and certainly a favourite over there in the West. So he's another young player who will develop, along with a few others that they drafted last year. So they've got a good mix now, Freo, of starting to build a young list underneath the talent they've got at the top.
We are starting to get late in the draft, and there would be a lot of players that nominated Sando that are very nervous at this point in time. And the cold, hard reality is that some of them won't get called tonight.
Yeah, it is, Jason. It can be heartbreaking for those young men because we've mentioned about the players who did get their names called out tonight and realising a childhood dream.
Yep.
It's not the end of the road. There's still a rookie draft on Friday. So many premiership players have come through the rookie draft. If your name doesn't get called out on the rookie draft, there's still an opportunity to go back and play really well at VFL level.
Yep.
Go back and play really well at SANFL level or the Waffle. Look for other opportunities. Go different pathways. James Podsiadly debuted at AFL level at 28 years of age and was a premiership player.
Yep.
So keep the dream alive. Use it as almost an inspiration to really push yourself and be back here next year and get your name called out.
There are some great stories. We hope to hear a few more along those lines. Well, at pick number 26, the Western Bulldogs called out the name Kieran Collins. Brad Johnson nearly knocked me off my chair. He was that excited by that pick. And I'm sure Kieran's excited as well as he catches up with Ben Dixon.
He sure is excited, Jason. The Bulldogs said if he was around at the mid-20s, they were going to take him, and we're just talking off air, Kieran, and you're pretty pumped to go to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, definitely very pumped, and it's a great. Going to be a great experience down there with Bevo and the
doggies are up on the rise, so hopefully become a good experience and play some good footy there.
It's a long wait for you, though. I mean, mid-20s, it was a long, drawn-out process, especially the top 10. You had 11, I think, home interviews, so a number of clubs were interested in 7 at the Combine, so it's still a daunting process, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very daunting. I guess waiting through the mid-teens, and then also with another Kieran in the draft, it sort of threw things out. So heard that name, and Dad got up and about, and they said the last name, so dropped a bit, and then I guess just waited till the doggies pick and heard my name get called out.
At the Combine, we know all the testing takes place, but underneath, when they do the interview process, that in itself is pretty daunting, isn't it? Because Carlton, I know, had nearly every soldier there, putting you through the paces. Other clubs are a bit more relaxed at it, but it's an intense process.
Yeah, it is definitely, and a bit of fun as well at the same time, but I guess it's daunting with all the, say with Carlton, we had Sauce, our head coach, our head list manager and stuff like that, so it's a really daunting experience, but also fun at the same time.
A few of your mates drafted today, got their preferred club. Have you had a chat to them?
I haven't really had time. I guess with Weeder's a good mate going to Carlton. He's been, I guess, hopping to interview, so I haven't really had much time to talk to him.
Well, you go and enjoy it because you've had a big night, and I'm glad you're going to the Bulldogs. You said you're pumped, and I'm sure Luke Beveridge is happy to roll you out next year. Well done.
Definitely. Thank you. Thanks, Dicko.
Thanks, Dicko. Well, the Cats have finally entered the draft. They've jumped in the 60s. I think pick 66 might have been their first. But at pick 69, Sando, a young Queensland boy by the name of Wiley Buzzer.
Yeah, you mentioned about Yeston being the first Yeston to probably play AFL football. I don't think there's been too many Wileys play AFL football, but I really like Buzzer. He's a big, strong power forward. Big dreadlocks too, leads hard at the footy, throws himself into every contest. Really smart pick, 19-year-old, so he didn't get drafted last year. But really mature this year, had some impact for Queensland in the championships. Mature player, ready to play.
I can just see Hutto or Dwayne, when this guy gets his chance, they are going to go nuts with that surname.
It's funny because I had a few mates that still live back home in Queensland and have a bit to do with the footy that pumped this kid up. They said he can play.
Colt figure, no doubt. 5 goals for Queensland against the NT, and then he played for the Allies on the G and kicked 3 grand final day in the All-Star game. Lovely kid, powerful brute, and a rugby league background as well.
So pick 66, pick 69, pick 70 all going Geelong's way. They've had to do their business at the back end of the draft, and we're up to the last couple of picks, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. And Chris Scott's probably just been sitting in the back there twiddling his thumbs waiting for Geelong to have their selections. But the last couple of selections, and obviously, as you mentioned before, Jason, nervous time for all those young men at home just waiting. But the draft's not finished. There's still the rookie draft that'll happen. As I mentioned before, plenty of premiership players have come through the rookie draft. So
71, Geelong. Pass.
What an anti-climax, Jason. Yeah.
That was a clap for a pass, I think.
I think Gillen's just about had enough of coming out and saying things like that, but we are virtually at the tail end of the draft. It's interesting. I mean, we shouldn't, if you're a Cats fan, don't worry, because they are, again, like the Pies, one of the more active clubs in the trading period, and they picked up some established players that have gone down there. Then they got Zach Smith from the Gold Coast, didn't they? Lockie Henderson's gone down there. Paddy Dangerfield, of course. So they've done okay out of the trade period.
And Selwood too from
West
Correct. Right. So really promising trade period. So not much activity tonight in the draft for the Cats, but expect some finals footy
and more out of someone like a Reece Stanley, who I saw last night and looks very, very fit as well. So they've got a fair bit of talent down there, the Cats.
All right, Shifter, let's take a look at rounds 5, 6 and 7 of the draft.
Yeah, you're seeing the mature age players come into it here. We mentioned Menegola and Broad. Crocker then, surprising that this versatile player from the Oakley Chargers, a dual premiership player at TAC Cup level, got his chance. Yeston Eads, the Indigenous boy from Swan District, great story. And then Rupert Wills was a surprise choice to Collingwood, but of course played some VFL footy.
Just a couple of picks in round 6, including that Wiley Buzzer.
Yeah, and Michael Hartley, we haven't mentioned, he's a former Collingwood player, rookie player, had some injuries there, but had a great year in the VFL. A dual winner of the best and fairest there at Coburg, and great to see him get that chance. And then this is, I suppose, the Smoky.
That'll be a trivia question answer, won't it? The last player picked in the draft.
Yeah, Matthew Hayball is a boy from the Roxby Downs that come down, played some Colts footy, under 18 footy in SA, but Stephen Wells has seen enough in him.
All right, so that wraps up the draft. We'll take a quick break, come back, and we'll hear from all of the clubs. We'll speak to a lot of the coaches and see, we'll get their thoughts on exactly how the draft panned out for their club.
Pick 40, Secure the Football Club. Brandon White.
for me, the moment of the 2015 NAB AFL Draft. The family and friends of young Brandon White, who went to St Kilda at pick number 40. And that's the scenes from the lounge room down at Berwick. How good. Well, that does bring goosebumps.
It does, doesn't it?
They'd sat on the edge of their chairs, hoping and praying to hear the name Brandon White, maybe starting to worry it wasn't going to come, and then it came.
Even the emotion from Brandon himself at the end, just that relief, and he let it all out, which was great to see.
And the family would have debated about whether we can allow the cameras in, and are you sure you're going to get picked up, and then you said, Jason, gets out to pick 40, you start to get the sweaty palms. And, of course, that magical moment, which the family will savour forever, the moment his name got called out.
And there were tears of joy in that room, weren't there?
Absolutely.
Fantastic to see.
Absolutely outstanding. So the draft is over. Let's recap the top 10 selections. We knew the way it was going to kick off. Jacob Wiedering went at number 1. Josh Shackey, number 2. Callum Mills was the first academy player. Melbourne bid for him first up, and Sydney obviously matched that bid. Clayton Oliver's the one that really jumped up. He not just jumped into the top 10, he jumped up to number 4. Darcy Parish at 5. Aaron Francis at 6. So the Bombers getting a couple of great picks inside the top 10. Jacob Hopper going to GWS, another academy player. Calamar Chi to Gold Coast. Sam Wiedemann, Melbourne, with a couple of picks inside the top 10 as well. And one of the twins, Harry Mackay, rounding off the top 10.
Yeah, look, it's a strong top 10. Really, a lot of key position players, as we've said, and these are the feeder clubs. It starts with the Dandenong Stingrays, who had the number 1 tonight, but they had 6 drafted tonight. Strong performance from them throughout the year.
That's their 5th number 1 over the 30-year history of the draft, which is quite an amazing effort. And well done to their talent manager, Mark Wheeler. Craig Black, their coach of Dandenong. He himself was drafted at choice 55 way back in 1997, Craig Black. Had some injuries, he was at Carlton, and it was a very good player at the next level down. So it's a great effort by that club, and their task of developing youngsters for AFL has been a very successful one this year.
You can just see the players, the family, the club officials all mixing now, all the happy stories being told, the pats on the back, the congratulations. Well, if you've just happened to tune in and you don't know exactly how it panned out, we're going to take you through the selections of each and every club in alphabetical order. We'll start off with the Adelaide Crows. Picks 11 and 17. A couple of handy picks to have, 2 inside the top 20.
Well, they already traded in well as well, Sando.
Yeah, they've actually had a really good trade period as well. They brought in players like Hampton, Menzel and Seedsman. They had the local young man in Malira, who's from Central Districts, and Tom Doty, who played for Geelong Falcons this year, had a really good season. So not many picks in this year's draft, but a really good position for the Crows to be in.
Happy with what they collected there, Shifter?
I think just a couple of choices, though, so they didn't have much room to move, but I think they've picked wisely there. Both the boys are super athletic. They'll make the step up very comfortably.
All right, let's take a look at the Brisbane Lions and see how they fared. Of course, no surprise, Josh Shackey at number 2. Eric Hipwood was one of the academy kids you spoke of at the top of the show, Sander, that you were very, very keen on. And Reece Matheson, who I think most good judges thought would be top 20, slipped all the way down to 39.
Peter Schwab's in charge there, and he's had a couple of pretty impressive drafts the last few years, and this one in particular, and they've got the 2 academy boys in Hipwood and Keys in the mix as well.
That's right, they've got the 2 local academy boys, and each player there was from the National Academy program, Jono, so pat on the back for you too, mate.
Swabby was involved in it a couple of years ago, but he does select a lot out of that program.
Matheson's the one I like there. The pick late in the 30s is a fantastic, smart selection there for the Brisbane Lions.
Well, we know that Brendan Bolton has a big job ahead as coach of the Carlton Football Club, but when you get 4 first-round picks, it's not a bad way to start your reign, is it?
And they've gone for size there. You love that. Wiedering, we've talked enough about him. Harry Mackay, the left-footed key forward, and Charlie Curnow. He could end up Nate Fyfe out of this draft. He could end up the midfielder. He's a big-bodied boy, a great athlete as well. And then Jack Silvani, he's a steal at 53. December birth, Jack, but those 6 goals against WA showed his hand.
Pick 5 Victorians too, Carlton. Didn't go outside of their own state.
Well, they're not going to have to worry about the go-home there. Let's see, there's one of the Mackay boys. That's Harry Mackay, who ended up at Carlton. Is there a possibility, we talk about the twins, Harry and Ben Mackay, somewhere down the track, could they play on each other?
I hope so. With the banter we saw earlier tonight, I hope that matchup happens.
It'll just be a big punch on
it. Will.
Well, Harry's played his best footy this year as a forward, and Ben's played some great footy down back. So I think there's a big chance we see. We thought
the Selwood boys went hard on each other. I reckon these two will go just as hard.
Well, you're right. They attacked each other verbally. I'd love to see them go at it physically, but obviously very, very close to the twins, the Mackay boys. Let's go to the Collingwood Football Club and see how they fared at this year's draft.
Yeah, Ben Crocker at 65. He's a boy that could have an impact even next year. Sando mentioned the positions he can play, whether it's midfield, forward, he's even come across half-back. A boy about the 185 centimetre mark, a great user of the footy, strong overhead, and they'd be very surprised he was still there at 65.
Now, we also knew it was going to be an extremely important draft for the Essendon Football Club, as we just see Nathan Buckley recapping everything that unfolded tonight for the Collingwood Football Club. But the Bombers need to get themselves back on track on field. So they had a couple of early selections at 5 and 6, and I think everyone rated Darcy Parish and Aaron Francis extremely high, but they've invested heavily in this draft.
Yeah, good mix of defenders and forwards throughout the draft. Mitch Brown is one that they've got key forward there, but certainly impressed as a defender as well, and that's probably what maybe made him rise up the draft over the last 12 months, especially when he filled in for the Bombers. That could be John Worsfold talking to Mitch Brown right now, saying he's talking to one of the new draftees. Could even be Yeston Eads, which was a great story as well.
They're actually really great phone calls to make as a senior coach. Obviously the player typically is already on the phone, all of his friends and family are calling him, but really special moment as a coach to call a player and welcome him to your football club.
Well, before we go ahead and have a look at the Fremantle Dockers, we're going to go back to the Carlton Football Club, because Steve Silvani is the man charged with bringing the Blues back into being as a power, along with Brendan Bolton, and Digo's been able to track Sauce down.
Sauce, first year in charge, you've had a big draft, 4 in the top, 19, so it was a big, obviously, draft for yourself, but Jacob Wiedering, you nailed him, and you got a few other key positions which you'd be pretty happy with.
Yeah, look, I think we got a really good mix, to get obviously Jacob Wiedering with our first pick, then follow that up with Harry McKay, key position forward, and then Charlie Curnow, and also David Cunningham, who obviously I think is going to be a very good midfielder, and then finish it off with Jack. I thought it was a nice draft.
Yeah, and you're speaking of Jack, Essendon a bit cheeky with their little bit in there.
They're always a little bit cheeky, the Bombers, but look, it all worked out well, and to really come away with 5, I think, quality players, it really does have a really nice future, and it looks bright for our club.
You've had some great experience in the recruiting field now, and Bolt's come to the club and looked like he just left you in charge there, sat back. It was obviously a bit of trust in that.
Yeah, look, I think everyone's transparent. You have a list management committee, and everything's out on the table, and we discuss it. And you prepare before you come here tonight. So, I think we were fairly relaxed tonight in terms of what went on, and we're really well prepared. And I think we got a really good result.
You interviewed a lot of the players and talked about the interviews. Harry McKay would have been an absolute beauty. He's a character, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's got a little bit of cheekiness about him, and so is Ben, his brother. They're both really good lads. But look, we're really happy to have Harry. We're crying out for another key position forward, and obviously the key position players take a little bit longer. So I think the Carlton supporters need to be a little bit patient, but you'll see glimpses of what they're capable of throughout the year.
You've had a big night, Sauce. I'll let you go because you can go and enjoy it now. The work's done. Hand it over to Bolts.
Thanks very much.
And now the real hard work starts. Well, the Fremantle Dockers didn't have any early selections, but an important draft for them nonetheless.
Very important. Darcy Tucker is a nice player, probably play across half back, uses it well, loves getting in the contest as well. Harley Ballock we spoke a lot about throughout the coverage as well. Lead up, can play midfield, and has got great hands in a marking contest. And then you mentioned Shane Yarran, the 25-year-old who gets a chance at AFL level.
I reckon it's terrific. Kicked over 50 goals at waffle level, and at 25 years of age, he's going to play in the AFL as soon as next year.
Well, I think you take it as given that if you're not going to enter the draft until the mid-60s or late 50s and then into the mid-60s, that you're probably not going to get any well-known names, ones that everyone was raving about. But this is where you can really earn your quid as a recruiter. If you can pluck them down between 59 and 70 and produce a couple there that play good football for a number of years of the Cats, that'll be a job well done.
Well, they've taken a Tasmanian, a boy from Perth, a boy from Queensland, and a boy here from South Australia. So they've really spread their net wide, the Geelong Cats, in their 4 selections tonight.
And Ryan Gardner will grab your chances. He was a last-minute inclusion into that Allies team on the MCG Grand Final day for the All-Stars game. Played in deep defence. He's a 195 centimetre boy. So grab that chance, and Stephen Wells has seen enough in him to make him a draft choice.
The Gold Coast Suns, the next cab off the rank, and they need to have a good year in 2016. It's time for them to start playing finals as well.
Oh, it is. Callum Archie, we've spoken about the mark he took on the MCG, one of the best I've ever seen. But look, what complements this is the fact of what they get back next year in terms of already made senior players that were injured throughout the year. Rodney Eden, his first year of coach of the Gold Coast, couldn't have been any worse with the disaster with the injuries that he had to work with. So Scotty Clayton over the last few years has picked a very strong list of Gold Coast, but you're right, it is time for them all to gel together, including the new recruits, set some high standards. They had off-field issues as well last year. Some high standards need to be set at the Gold Coast, and these young players need to come in and help build that from the bottom.
A lot of clubs were chasing GWS Academy boys, but they didn't get them because GWS answered every time, and they got some terrific young players
they
again.
Did, Jason. They matched every bid that came for their players today, but we talked about losing Treloar, but you bring in Jacob Hopper and Matthew Kennedy. They are ready-made AFL midfielders who come in and complement their already strong squad. Expect them to push right up the ladder again next year. I like Harrison Himmelberg. I was surprised the bid came in at 16, but GWS matched it. And then Matthew Flynn, really good young ruckman at pick 41. He was the first ruckman chosen tonight in the draft.
A couple of first-round selections for the Hawks. First time they've had those for a while, even though they were very much at the back end, but they were pretty keen to get Brenton and Lovell into the mix.
Yeah, got a couple of goal kickers there in Brenton and Hardwick. Lovell's the prolific ball winner, averaged over 35 possessions a game in the National 18s, and he's got a bit of Diesel Williams about him. Very low to the ground, never falls over, gets it inside, gets it outside, and deserved his opportunity with the Hawks.
Geez, we know how to put pressure on kids, don't we? Some of the names that we are comparing some of these players to is extraordinary. Well, the Melbourne Football Club would love to have a couple of Greg Diesel Williams joining their list, but they look to have done very well as well.
Especially their first two. I like the first two. Clayton Oliver, his rise in the second half of the TAC Cup year, and Sam Wiedemann, the one that you love, Sando, with his ability. Look, he had his injuries throughout the year, yes, but there was enough there to say that this guy will be a future star and play a lot of football alongside Jesse Hogan.
Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure on Clayton Oliver now because a lot of clubs, a lot of people didn't rate him as the fourth best player in this year's draft, but I'm sure he's a great country kid. He'll train hard. You can see he's already trimmed down over some of the vision that we've seen of him earlier in the season. So really good draft by Melbourne. They've got a good young squad. Expect them to really rise up the ladder again next year.
North Melbourne's a club that would love to make the next step, which is playing in a grand final after a couple of preliminary finals. And I think they've got a bit of confidence in the players that they've picked up.
I actually really like these selections, Jason, from North Melbourne. We talked about the other twin, if you like, Ben Mackay, who's the key position back who can go forward. Ryan Clark runs AFL patterns already. He's extremely fit, gets across the ground really well. Mitchell Hibbard from Tasmania, pick 33. Excellent selection. Shoulder and knee injuries the last 2 years, but will come in and have an impact. And Corey Wagner, Brisbane didn't match the bid for him, so he becomes a North Melbourne player, but once again a player that I rate really highly, midfielder who can go outside as well.
Well, Port Adelaide didn't have an early pick, but the biggest roar of the night came when they weighed in for the first time. It was deafening inside the convention centre here in Adelaide for Riley Bonner, and then they followed up very quickly with Aidan Johnson.
Yeah, went at home with their choice on Bonner, the left-footed halfback that made All-Australian during the year with those performances. And then Aidan Johnson, one that couldn't get on the park too much this year, had the injuries, but just the little snippets you saw of him, you can see something fairly elite. He's explosive with his pace. He's a boy that can play as a medium forward or through the midfield, an Indigenous boy from country Victoria, and great to see him get his opportunity.
Well, the Tigers were keen to get on board with their early selection. They bid for a couple of academy picks. They got knocked back, but eventually they took Daniel Rioli.
Yeah, and what a selection. Look, you can just see him at the feet of Jack Riewoldt to start to learn his craft at Tigerland, and then he may, with some fitness, get up the ground a little bit further and have an impact there. The number one player at the National Combine this year, and Oleg Markov, his dad was a gun pole vaulter, and he comes in and he gets his chance as well. And look, it's time for him now to make his own mark and his own name.
We heard the screaming and we saw the tears of the White clan when Brandon White was taken at pick number 40 for the Saints, and he was accompanied by Jade Gresham and Bailey Rice, the father-son.
And Jade Gresham, one that we thought might have gone to North Melbourne, because Boomer Harvey played with Jade's father at the Northern Knights, and if Jade ended up there, he would have played with the father and the son. But he's been a mentor to young Jade throughout the year. Boomer Harvey taught him a few tricks, and this boy's got plenty of tricks. He gets through the traffic. He's only medium-sized, about the 177 centimetre mark, but gee, he plays with great passion, ball-winning ability, hits the scoreboard as well, and a great choice for the Saints.
We're about to have a look at Sydney selections, but before we do, we might hear from their coach. Ben Dixon has caught up with John Longmire.
John, an interesting draft. I mean, the format changed, the bidding process took a little bit of time. Callum Mills, the first one, was a nice, interesting little bid there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we obviously really pleased with Callum. We've been really fortunate to see him close up. Chris Smith and Michael O'Loughlin have done a really good job with him over a number of years now, and he's a real competitor, and it's great to have him in the club.
You come to the draft and sometimes it's a need basis, or you just take the best talent available. Coming into tonight, what was Sydney looking for?
Well, after Callum, obviously, we'd lost a fair bit of speed and particularly some kicking ability out of the club since the end of the season. So Tyrone Leonardis really helps us with that. He plays with some real power. He's a very good kick, and so we're really pleased to get him with our second selection.
So Isaac Heaney, and we've got Callum Mills. You got a couple more in the academy. Smitty and Mickey just pushing up through. Would you expect the same next year?
No, well, that's the thing about the academy system. You're not really sure what you're going to have from year to year. At the moment, it's a bit hard to look at even that far out. But it's good. It's growing the talent pool, which is what we all should be happy with. It's actually getting more quality AFL players into the system.
How did you think of the new system today with the draft and how it was all played out?
I'm sure there'll be a review of it, and look, it took some time, there's no doubt about that, but when you've got so many academy bids and father-son things going on, there's a bit going on.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thanks, mate.
It did take a little bit of time, and hopefully we can fine-tune that for future drafts. But Callum Mills, well, their hand was forced by Melbourne, who bid with pick number 3, so they had to go in hard there. And then Tyrone Leonardis and Jordan Dawson.
And Jordan Dawson bobbed up at the end of the year, played 5 senior games at Sturt after playing during the Nationals, got injured, only played the couple of games, but it was those games late in the year that obviously helped him get a chance at AFL level.
The West Coast Eagles played off in the grand final in 2015. They'll hope to go one better next year, and they'd love one of these players to develop very quickly.
Thomas Cole's the one there at 36, Sando, that we've had a bit to do with, as well as Luke Partington, but I like his composure as a defender. He never looks like he gets flustered in that position, and he uses it and is quite composed with his disposal coming out of the defensive end.
West Coast have used their late picks really well. There are 4 really good players that will come in and help their team.
And Brad Johnson, when he finally wiped away the tears, he's going to have a look at the selections for the Western Bulldogs. You did get excited,
Very good
John,
ones.
because
They
a
are.
couple of picks in the mid-20s. Josh Dunkley was the father-son that Sydney didn't match, and then you were keen on Kieran Collins as well.
Yeah, well, the first 2 are the ones that I probably know more than the last 2 there, Marcus Adams and Bailey Williams. But Josh Dunkley, his dad was a star with the Swans. And
I hope he's a better kick than his old man. His old man was a star defender and a great mark and a tough man, but a horrible kick. You'd hope that Josh kicks it a bit.
Josh kicks it very well, don't worry about that. And Kieran Collins is probably the perfect fit over the next few years when Dale Morris decides to hang up the boots.
All right, a final word on the draft from you, Shifter.
I love the fact that every state and territory had players taken. So the 8 states and territories, even the ACT, the Northern Territory, probably 4 out of Tassie, a great result. So players spread right around the nation getting the opportunity to join the AFL.
It has been a great evening, Sando.
Yeah, it has, and I think the big pressure tonight was on Carlton with 4 picks inside 19 and Essendon with 4 picks inside 25. I think both of those clubs nailed it tonight.
Brandon White, for me, that vision will go down in history. That'll be shown for the next few years in terms of just the raw emotion that comes with getting drafted into the AFL competition.
Gentlemen, thank you all for your contributions. Greatly appreciated. We trust you've enjoyed our coverage of the draft, but that brings the 2015 NAB AFL draft to a close. I tend to agree with Brad Johnson. For me, that stunning moment when the name Brandon White was called out, we got to just see exactly what it meant to the family and friends. We saw so much emotion unfold, but for now, from the Adelaide Convention Centre, that brings it to a close. Good luck to your team in 2016, and hopefully we'll see you again soon here on Fox.
This has been a Fox Footy production, part of the Fox Sports Network.